Shueguan should not focus solely on Cheng Chumo. That is not his concern. His attention ought to be directed towards the war. The officials are sweating profusely, realizing only after being reprimanded that Cheng Chumo is not the focal point. He is one of their own. The kingdom of Nanzhao is the true matter of importance. Li Chong is merely a fly in comparison, while the spies from Nanzhao are akin to bees, stinging where it hurts. Orders for a fierce assault on the front lines are given, promising a reward for each enemy slain. Shueguan asserts that those who dare to attempt his assassination must pay for their transgressions. The officials should take action. Upon entering the courtyard, Shueguan encounters the bald elder. After conveying the situation, the elder erupts in anger, striking Shueguan on the back of the head. Fool! How could you make such a blunder? Fortunately, Cheng Chumo is in Lingnan. What would you have done had he not been? The elder exclaims. Your disciple is truly disappointing. Thinking only of how to curry favor with Cheng Chumo. Does he even need such flattery? The audacity of being attacked is a disgrace. The elder declares that he will cooperate with Cheng Chumo to stage a performance, urging Shueguan to learn from Cheng Chumo's military prowess. War is no jest. If one cannot adhere to the principle of better to mistakenly kill than to let an enemy slip away, then perhaps one should return home to tend to children. The elder feels compelled to educate his disciple. When observing Cheng Chumo in battle, which spy would dare approach him? They flee at the mere sight of him, knowing he would rather annihilate all than allow a traitor to escape. The example of the Turkic royal city serves as a testament. Cheng Chumo slaughtered 700,000. But were all those he killed deserving of death? Unlikely. This exemplifies the principle of better to mistakenly kill than to let an enemy slip away. He resolved all matters in one fell swoop, driving the Turkic people from the steppes. Who would dare return? Shueguan offers a bitter smile, questioning the whereabouts of the Tai Lu tribe. The elder strikes him again, exclaiming, nonsense. They simply were not found. Issue the order to massacre the kingdom of Nanzhao. Those who resist shall be killed. The elder internally curses his disciple's foolishness. In an invasion, what purpose does sparing the enemy serve? Should they wait for opposition? Showing kindness to them is futile. What good is it to have left them alive when they can strike down everything? Shueguan notes that the elder is too weary to engage in further dialogue. As he kicks Shueguan down and contemplates informing Cheng Chumo of the situation upon their next meeting. Perhaps he should have his disciple tend to Cheng Chumo's horse for a few years. Meanwhile, Cheng Chumo is strolling through the streets with two women. Princess Chizuan carries a substantial sum of money, purchasing whatever catches her fancy. As night falls, Cheng Chumo returns to his quarters, only to be summoned by Princess Chizuan. My lord, it has been ages since we last shared a bed, she says. Concubine Chao chuckles quietly in the room, realizing she ought not to cling to Princess Chizuan, for she is already betrothed. Despite being older, she dismisses her own feelings, recognizing that Princess Chizuan is at an age of fervor. After preparing the bedding, Concubine Chao, having changed into her nightgown, lies down. Princess Chizuan enters the room with Cheng Chumo. Concubine Chao gazes at Princess Chizuan in disbelief, wondering if she intends to stay in the same room as Cheng Chumo. My lord, I dislike that room. It's drafty. Let us all sleep here, Princess Chizuan insists. Indeed, Cheng Chumo's room is in disrepair, with a gaping hole in the ceiling. While Cheng Chumo is indifferent, Princess Chizuan cannot abide such conditions. Without waiting for Concubine Chao's response, she pulls Cheng Chumo onto the bed, not considering much further. Princess Chizuan recalls that Concubine Chao has been in the palace for a long time, and since Cheng Chumo is the emperor, Concubine Chao is essentially his. My lord, I fear being squeezed. You should sleep in the middle, she proposes. Cheng Chumo changes into his night attire and lies in the center, while Princess Chizuan takes the outer edge. Concubine Chao's face flushes deeply, her eyes tightly shut, gripping the quilt tightly. Sister, we only have one quilt. Please loosen your grip, or we won't have enough cover. Tomorrow we can buy a new one for you to use, Princess Chizuan suggests. Oh, Concubine Chao softly replies, releasing her hold. Princess Chizuan spreads the quilt, ensuring they are all covered. You should lean against my lord, she adds. Concubine Chao remains motionless, but Cheng Chumo gently pulls her closer. Concubine Chao stiffens, too apprehensive to move. Once I take action, those people will surely come after you. From now on, you must stay with me, Cheng Chumo assures, embracing both women. Princess Chizuan beams with excitement, feeling secure with Cheng Chumo by her side. Concubine Chao, blushing, nods, convincing herself that if Cheng Chumo desires anything, he may as well proceed. Having successfully calmed her thoughts, Concubine Chao shifts closer to Cheng Chumo, glancing at Princess Chizuan. My lord is right. Those people will not give up easily. We must remain vigilant and hide when he is not around, Concubine Chao states. Princess Chizuan nods in agreement. It's all right. I will go to the government office in 3 days. I will make arrangements for you. Our people will soon arrive in Lingnan. Cheng Chumo affirms his words. Han Tu has already arrived in Lingnan with special forces, all disguised as refugees, and is now at the state government. Han Tu, at this moment, is meeting with Shueguan. General Han, your journey has been arduous, Shueguan remarks, rising to propose a toast. I do not drink while on duty. It is too dangerous. I must protect my lord and cannot afford to be inebriated, Han Tu replies coolly. Shueguan sits back, observing Han Tu's demeanor, which is as formidable as ice. Such a man leading troops is indeed a terrifying prospect. If you were to command the war against the kingdom of Nanzhao, what would your approach be? Shui Guan inquires. Do not leave matters for future generations to resolve, Han Tu states, rising to depart, intending to protect Cheng Chimo. Shui Guan sits in a daze as the bald elder enters. Now you understand the disparity in your abilities, the elder remarks. Shui Guan nods absently. A fine saying, do not leave problems for others. Such a person is truly deserving of being a general, he muses, contemplating the gravity of it all. Master, your teachings have been lacking. Why did you not impart this wisdom to me sooner? Shui Guan laments. The elder's face flushes with anger. Han Tu arrives at the small courtyard where Cheng Chimo resides, but does not enter. The special forces gather outside. You all hide well. I will guard the entrance. Han Tu commands. The soldiers disperse, and Han Tu takes his position. Cheng Chimo remains blissfully unaware of their arrival, sleeping soundly. Concubine Chao, unable to find rest, rests her head on Cheng Chimo's arm, gazing at his face. Suddenly, her cheeks flush, and she places his large hand on her waist. Are you feeling frisky? Princess Chizun whispers, her eyes fluttering open. Concubine Chao's small face turns crimson. Cheng Chimo made a decisive move. Chao Fei admitted directly. The princess of Chizun smirked. Why not go up now? She suggested. Chao Fei bit her lip, still lacking the courage to approach. If it were Cheng Chimo making the advance, she could accept it and cooperate. However, to take the initiative herself was quite embarrassing. The princess of Chizun ceased to tease her and soon drifted into a drowsy slumber. This was not a time for frivolity. Once the matters here were resolved, they could act as they pleased, but for now, it was unnecessary. As dawn broke, the three awoke. Chao Fei was pressed against Cheng Chimo. My lord, it's time for breakfast, Han Tu stated, having just returned with donkey meat. Chao Fei wore an unhappy expression, while the princess of Chizun, recognizing Han Tu's voice, felt a twinge of resentment. The timing of his arrival was less than ideal for witnessing a delightful spectacle. Cheng Chimo sat up, and once the trio was dressed, they exited the room. Upon seeing Han Tu, Cheng Chimo patted him on the shoulder. Perfect timing, he remarked. Han Tu remained expressionless. They all sat down to eat. The special forces had remained concealed, and Han Tu reported that his subordinates had discovered someone surveilling the area and had dealt with them. Cheng Chimo nodded. He trusted Han Tu's ability to handle matters. Let them continue to hide in the shadows. You shall be the steward here from now on, he instructed. Han Tu agreed. I've come to observe, an elderly bald man said, emerging from the tunnel with his hands behind his back. Cheng Chimo smiled at the elder, recognizing him as a true master, in contrast to himself. He stood and clasped his fists in greeting. Please, sit, Shirshu, Cheng Chimo said. The elder's expression darkened at this title, glaring at Cheng Chimo. You should learn from your master. Excessive chatter is unwise, he replied. Cheng Chimo chuckled and took his seat. The elder turned his gaze to Chao Fei. Initially, I intended to take Li Yuanji as my disciple. But Li Yuanji's father opposed it, the elder stated meaningfully. Chao Fei seemed to grasp the implications. It was never Li Shimin or Li Jiansheng who suppressed Li Yuanji, but rather Li Yuan himself. If it were me, I would not allow Li Yuanji to learn from you either, Cheng Chimo added. The elder chuckled. The heart of an emperor. Two sons sufficiently talented. Li Yuanji must never rise again. How do you wish for me to perish? The elder inquired. The two began to discuss how to stage their performance. I wish to engage in a genuine duel with you, Shirshu, Cheng Chimo declared, eager to test both his current prowess and the skills of the reclusive master. The elder fixed his gaze on Cheng Chimo for a moment. Very well, he agreed. The two fell silent as the elder departed through the tunnel. Cheng Chimo narrowed his eyes, a copper coin rolling between his fingers. 3 days passed. Li Chang and a middle-aged man arrived at the courtyard. Do you require assistance tonight? The middle-aged man asked, glancing at Han Tu, who was crouched washing dishes. No need for tonight. I shall go now, Cheng Chimo replied, rising and walking outside with his hands behind his back. Han Tu looked up, wiped his hands, and stood. Li Chang and the other departed. At the yamen, Cheng Chimo stood with his hands behind his back at the entrance. The constables had already received orders to feign a brawl and were the first to strike. Cheng Chimo flicked his wrist, sending 2 copper coins flying, which grazed the heads of the constables. They both screamed and fell to the ground, clutching their heads in a pretense of death. Cheng Chimo grimaced. This was rather absurd. Just as he prepared to enter, the elder appeared again, hands behind his back. Let us take this to the streets, he suggested. Cheng Chimo smiled. They made their way to the bustling street, hands clasped behind their backs, locking eyes. Let the duel commence, the elder declared. Cheng Chimo initiated the battle, continuously launching copper coins from his hand. The elder produced a soft sword, deftly deflecting the incoming coins. A few hidden spies in the crowd were struck and fell lifelessly to the ground. Li Chang, watching from a distance, was astonished. No wonder the assassination of Shui Guan had failed. The elder was formidable. Cheng Chimo's copper coins flew at remarkable speed, and the elder was able to block them. In a matter of moments, the elder closed the distance to Cheng Chimo. Cheng Chimo drew a horizontal sword from behind him, standing resolutely against the elder. The elder's attacks were cunning, forcing Cheng Chimo to retreat. After taking a few steps back, Cheng Chimo swung his sword with incredible speed. Speed dictated strength. The elder's expression grew serious. He refrained from engaging head-on with his soft sword, opting instead to retreat and evade. not wishing to risk damaging his treasured blade. The two exchanged blows, both cautious yet engaged. Ching Chumo exchanged a knowing glance with the elder, who understood the silent cue. They both retreated simultaneously. The onlookers had long since fled, aware that a decisive move was imminent. The elder revealed several leaf-like throwing darts. Ching Chumo discarded his sword, drawing a pistol from his waist. The elder's eyelids twitched. Ching Chumo did not grant him an opportunity to speak. With a series of sharp discharges, Ching Chumo fired 3 shots. The elder, undeterred, simultaneously unleashed his darts. The moment froze. Ching Chumo bore 3 bloody wounds on his chest. While the elder's eyes widened in shock, Ching Chumo had fired, yet he remained unharmed, only feeling a slight sting. The elder collapsed. Ching Chumo fell as well. Shueguan rushed out, glaring furiously at Ching Chumo, saying nothing as he carried his master back to the yamen. Han Tu silently lifted Ching Chumo and departed without uttering a word. From a distance, Li Chong and the middle-aged man exchanged knowing glances, both recognizing the mirth in each other's eyes. I have eyes in the yamen. I will send someone to ascertain whether the elder is truly dead, the middle-aged man declared. Li Chong smiled. Whether the elder lived or died was no longer significant. As long as he was gravely injured, he could not protect Shueguan. The most pressing concern was the money. The 100 million promised to Ching Chumo must be retrieved. I shall check the courtyard, Li Chong stated. Both harbored ulterior motives, tacitly understanding one another's intentions, one seeking to resolve domestic strife, the other aiming to expand their influence. Li Chong arrived alone at the courtyard, only to hear the weeping of the princess of Qi Zun and Xiao Fei before he could enter. The princess's cries were the loudest. Oh, it hurts. No, my beloved, you cannot die, she sobbed. Xiao Fei, blushing, cried as well, struggling to suppress laughter. The princess, unable to contain her tears, found herself pinched on the inner thigh by Ching Chumo, who was helpless in his current state. The princess cried out in pain, only to correct herself under his fierce gaze. I wish to enter and see the master, Li Chong called from the entrance. Han Tu cast a cold glance at Li Chong. Not aloud, he replied. Li Chong's expression turned cold. Ching Chumo was a person of great stature, capable of speaking to him in such a manner. What was this doorman after all? He raised his hand, ready to strike Han Tu across the face. Han Tu stepped back, a mocking smile on his face. Do you wish to die? He retorted. Had it not been for Ching Chumo's orders forbidding him from eliminating Li Chong, Han Tu would have dispatched him long ago. Such a minor figure held no significance in Han Tu's eyes. Whether I wish to live or die is not for you to decide. I must see the gentleman today, Li Chong asserted, needing to ascertain Ching Chumo's condition. Han Tu remained unfazed. Li Chong could no longer suppress his fury. Bring it on, he bellowed, and a group of burly men surged forward, intent on dealing with Han Tuesday. Just as the tension reached its peak, the courtyard door swung open. Xiao Fei emerged, her eyes red with tears. My husband has already breathed his last. You must leave, she implored. Li Chong peered through the gap into the courtyard. Ching Chumo lay motionless on a chair, blood staining his chest. Li Chong turned to Xiao Fei, devoid of avarice. I offer my condolences. Since the gentleman has passed, why not accompany me? He proposed. Xiao Fei, filled with rage, retorted, impudent. Who do you think you are? Li Chong, unfazed, internally cursed Xiao Fei for her shamelessness. He was all too aware of her true nature. In his youth, he had been notoriously flamboyant, which was why Li Shimin had brought him to the palace, nearly making him an empress. Who I am is of little consequence. I can ensure your safety. Li Chong replied. Xiao Fei scoffed, no need. Yet her confidence appeared shaky. Li Chong concluded that the gentleman was indeed dead. Otherwise, Xiao Fei would not exhibit such insecurity. Consider this carefully. With your beauty, you could at least be a royal consort. Yet you remain merely a consort. If you follow me, you could become a royal consort to Ching Chumo. And if you perform well, becoming an empress is not impossible, he continued, offering a tantalizing proposition. Such terms would undoubtedly entice other women. Xiao Fei's demeanor shifted, glancing nervously at Han Tu, as if fearing him. Li Chong understood her implication. It seemed the doorman wielded some influence. Dear brother, if you wish to reminisce, now that the gentleman is gone, why trouble a woman? Li Chong suggested. Han Tu cast a dispassionate glance at Xiao Fei. Back in the courtyard, only Xiao Fei and Li Chong remained. Li Chong's gaze burned with intensity as he scrutinized Xiao Fei. She felt uncomfortable under his stare, unable to voice the words Ching Chumo had entrusted to her. Is what you say true? Xiao Fei inquired. Li Chong laughed heartily, stepping forward, eager to embrace her. Xiao Fei retreated. Please, have some decorum, she admonished. Li Chong, feeling impatient, asserted, what I say is true. Alas, I wish to raise an army but lack the funds. Xiao Fei glanced around. Are you not the son of Li Jianxing? She whispered. Li Chong's expression turned icy before he regained his composure. What does a mere woman understand? Knowing changes nothing. You merely seek assurance. Precisely, Li Chong replied. Xiao Fei's face brightened as she produced a piece of paper from her sleeve and tossed it to the ground before quickly returning to the courtyard. Li Chong bent down to retrieve it, his expression one of ecstasy. It was a map. At the bottom, a line of small script read, They will set me free in 3 days. Chapter 385. Increasingly intriguing, Li Chong did not enter the courtyard. Han Tu appeared too composed, leaving Li Chong uncertain of his depth. He turned to leave, intending to send someone to verify the authenticity of the map. Qiao Fei re-entered the courtyard, and Han Tu closed the door. Cheng Chumo opened his eyes and looked at Qiao Fei. Her face was not pleasant. She had been thoroughly disgusted by Li Chong today. Men were indeed all the same. The princess of Chizuan gazed at Cheng Chumo with a pout, not genuinely angry, her eyes sparkling. Being pinched earlier had felt rather pleasant. Cheng Chumo found himself at a loss for words. Is the map reliable? He changed the subject. No, Qiao Fei replied. She had prepared this map for many years, hoping to one day use it to escape. Cheng Chumo nodded. Inform Shuiguan to surround this place, he commanded. Han Tu at the door nodded in acknowledgement. Qiao Fei sat beside Cheng Chumo, unfastening his garments. Fortunately, he wore soft armor. She extracted several leaf-shaped projectiles from the armor. Why does my husband want Shuiguan to surround this place? Qiao Fei asked. Who wouldn't he seek revenge for their master's murder? The princess of Chizuan interjected. Cheng Chumo pinched her small nose playfully. Clever girl, he remarked. The princess flushed at the compliment, feeling embarrassed at her age to receive such praise. I'm tired, she admitted. Qiao Fei burst into laughter, rolling her eyes at the princess, who seemed oblivious to the concept of modesty. I'm a bit tired too, Qiao Fei added, her face reddening as she lowered her gaze. The princess stared blankly at Qiao Fei. What were you laughing at just now? She asked. Qiao Fei's face turned even redder. Cheng Chumo watched with a smile, reminded of a saying. One cannot trust a woman's words, especially those of a beautiful woman. They deceive men without realizing they are doing so. In their minds, men are meant to be deceived. For serious individuals, dealing with such women is challenging. Rogues are more reliable for handling them. Cheng Chumo rose. Let us go, he said. The two women looked at Cheng Chumo. Is the gentleman here? The beef has arrived today, a young boy called from the door. Han Tu scrutinized the young lad. Do not ask what you should not, he warned. Cheng Chumo heard the voice and quickly lay down, signaling to the two women with his eyes. The princess remained transfixed, gazing at Cheng Chumo. He reached into her skirt, pinching his thigh. Wah! The princess cried, rubbing her thigh vigorously. Qiao Fei, fearing a pinch herself, quickly feigned tears, dabbing at her eyes. Bring it in, Han Tu instructed. The young lad entered the courtyard, carrying a food box. Approaching Cheng Chumo, who lay on the chair, he knelt before him. What is wrong, sir? What is wrong? He cried out, trying to touch Cheng Chumo's chest. A tang dagger blocked his hand. Do not touch the master's body, unless you wish to die. The young lad stared in terror at the dagger, rising to retreat a step. Han Tu frowned. The lad's hand had barely moved, which did not escape the seasoned Han Tu's notice. Deliver the goods, and then leave, Han Tu ordered. The lad lowered his head, his eyes never leaving Cheng Chumo's chest. All right, he replied, his voice trembling. Han Tu escorted the lad out. Cheng Chumo extracted a silver needle from his shoulder. This was puzzling to Princess Chizuan. Cheng Chumo then took a pill and swallowed it. This is becoming increasingly intriguing, he remarked with a smile. The silver needle had been stealthily inserted into him by the innkeeper. While an ordinary person would certainly awaken from such a sudden prick, Cheng Chumo was no ordinary individual. He endured it silently. He glanced at the food box, which still contained slices of donkey meat and a few chunks of donkey tendon. Picking up a piece of tendon, he took a bite. Stop! Exclaimed Princess Chizuan. Aren't you afraid it might be poisoned? She inquired. Cheng Chumo chuckled. If he were to poison the food, it would be exceedingly dull. Han Tu returned, stating, My lord, that innkeeper poses a problem. Cheng Chumo tossed a piece of tendon to Han Tuesday. Try it, he commanded. Han Tu took a bite and replied, Not bad. After finishing the tendon, Cheng Chumo walked towards the room with his hands behind his back, followed by Princess Chizuan and concubine Xiao. Inside the room, Cheng Chumo opened a secret passage, and the three entered, heading towards the government office. Soon, 1,000 city defense troops surrounded the courtyard, making it impossible for anyone to approach. Within the government office, Cheng Chumo sat across from the bald elder. You unprincipled brat. Why did you draw a gun? The elder scowled. Cheng Chumo remained silent, thinking to himself that a copper coin would hardly suffice against him. So a gun was indeed more reliable, even if it was a one-for-one exchange. As night fell, the sounds of shouting and killing erupted as numerous assassins stormed into the government office. The bald elder's gaze was icy. Calm down, master. I assure you, Shuiguan will be unharmed, Cheng Chumo said. The elder's expression darkened. It was disgraceful for his disciple to require protection from others. There's no need, if he dies. So be it, the elder grumbled in frustration. Cheng Chumo rose to return to his room, feeling that the elder's disdain was perfectly justified. Back in the room, the two women were deep in conversation. Upon seeing Cheng Chumo return, they both stood up. My lord, you have returned, Princess Chizuan said, helping him remove his coat. You should bathe, she added. Cheng Chumo approached the wooden tub and stepped into the water, which was at a perfect temperature. Reclining against the tub, he listened to the sounds of battle outside. Princess Chizuan approached him. Aren't you worried about the commotion outside? It sounds like there are quite a few of them. Approximately 300, Cheng Chumo replied with his eyes closed. Princess Chizuan looked skeptical. How could you possibly know the number? Cheng Chumo answered. If you find an old man selling oil, observe whether he can pour the oil into your gourd without spilling a single drop. He explained that pouring oil and engaging in battle were fundamentally similar. It was merely a matter of expertise. Cheng Chumo could gauge the enemy's approximate numbers from the gunfire and discern their strength through the sounds of clashing weapons. He was indeed a professional in warfare. What if there are not so many? Princess Chizuan asked, her expression serious. If not, then it would hinge on a request I made of you, Cheng Chumo replied. Princess Chizuan's face changed, and she stepped back, covering herself. He's such a pervert. I must not let him succeed, she thought. I won't gamble with you, she declared. Cheng Chumo was speechless, realizing that Princess Chizuan had become quite clever. As the battle drew to a close, the sounds of shouting ceased. The enemy was 300 strong. Shueguan is severely injured. We lost 500 soldiers, but we annihilated the enemy, Han Tu reported outside. Princess Chizuan felt a surge of satisfaction, relieved that she hadn't wagered with Cheng Chumo. Well, the bait has been cast. Now we wait, Cheng Chumo said. Confident that once those people realized they could not kill Shueguan, they would settle for severely wounding him, thereby disrupting the morale of the Lingnan army. They would inevitably seek out concubine Chao, for the treasure of the Chao king was far too enticing. Cheng Chumo had already cast sufficient bait. Inform the special forces to assist Shueguan in rooting out the traitors and eliminate them, Cheng Chumo instructed. With Shueguan gravely injured, the officials would frantically work to cleanse the traitors, but their capacity would be limited. Cheng Chumo worried they would not eliminate enough. He decided to employ the special forces, disguised in the attire of common laborers, ensuring they would go unnoticed. Keep an eye on the courtyard. I want to force them to launch a full-scale assault, he added. Han Tu acknowledged and departed. Help me dress. I need to check on Shueguan, Cheng Chumo said. What if there's a spy? Concubine Chao inquired. Cheng Chumo fell silent. Lying on the bed. She was right. The backyard was secluded, and even if there were spies, they couldn't see him. However, the front hall was a different matter. It was crowded and chaotic, and if there were indeed an internal thread, he would be exposed. Princess Chizuan followed him to bed. And Concubine Chao was not shy about it either. Cheng Chumo lay between them, with Princess Chizuan on his left and Concubine Chao on his right. They spent the night in silence. In the morning, the soldiers surrounding the courtyard had already withdrawn. What shall we do next? Han Tu asked at the door. Cheng Chumo attempted to rise, but the two women held him too tightly. We shall lie in wait, he declared solemnly. Han Tu understood immediately and left. Princess Chizuan opened her eyes to find her hand clasped with Concubine Chao's. She slapped Concubine Chao's hand away. How disgusting, Princess Chizuan muttered. She had thought she was holding Cheng Chumo's hand. Upon realizing it was Concubine Chao's, she felt revolted by the thought of sleeping hand in hand with her all night. Concubine Chao, feeling the sting, opened her eyes and looked at Cheng Chumo in confusion. Why did you hit my hand? She asked. Princess Chizuan hastily closed her eyes, pretending to be asleep. Cheng Chumo wanted to explain but felt at a loss when he saw Princess Chizuan feigning sleep. He could not clarify the misunderstanding. Do you want to? Concubine Chao's face turned red. Cheng Chumo finally understood how it felt to be wronged. He truly couldn't explain. He decided to adopt a carefree attitude. Concubine Chao nestled closer to him, resting her head on his shoulder, which he took as an unspoken acceptance. Princess Chizuan sat up and glared at Concubine Chao. You are indeed coveting my husband, she declared. Concubine Chao's face flushed crimson, leaving her at a loss for words. My lord, get dressed, we are going to eat, Princess Chizuan announced, pulling Cheng Chumo to his feet. The three of them dressed, and Princess Chizuan shot a glare at Concubine Chao. You are not allowed to follow us. She said, taking Cheng Chumo's hand and leading him away. Concubine Chao could only smile wryly as she watched them depart. The two entered the secret passage, returning to the courtyard where Han Tu had already prepared the meal. Are you certain that Concubine Chao poses a problem? Inquired Princess Chizuan. Cheng Chumo smiled faintly, but remained silent. Everything that had just transpired was merely a performance, a prelude orchestrated by Cheng Chumo for Princess Chizuan. The doubts surrounding Concubine Chao were manifold. First and foremost, she had been escorted to Lingnan by a maid. Is that plausible? After all, Concubine Chao holds the title of imperial consort. Even if her status is rendered ineffective, Yang Xiong is a formidable general. Surely, his subordinates would not neglect to safeguard her. Concubine Chao and that innkeeper are both questionable. You must tread carefully, Cheng Chumo advised. Princess Chizuan nodded solemnly, her expression grave. The intricacies of this situation are quite convoluted. Why would we allow Concubine Chao to remain alone in the yamen? What if she disseminates information? She pondered. Do you think Shueguan's master is a fool? Cheng Chumo retorted. Princess Chizuan felt somewhat reassured. That old bald man appeared quite formidable. Anyone daring to act beneath his watch would surely meet a dreadful fate. After a simple meal, Cheng Chumo led Princess Chizuan to the room where he had initially lodged. We shall wait here, he stated. That night, a group of cloaked figures stormed into the courtyard, heading straight for the room occupied by Concubine Chao and Princess Chizuan. Cheng Chumo and Princess Chizuan peered through the window, watching intently. They truly cannot contain themselves, remarked Princess Chizuan. Cheng Chumo chuckled softly. The intruders searched fruitlessly and then seemed to head toward the chamber where Cheng Chumo and Princess Chizuan were hiding. A muffled sound echoed as the special forces opened fire. The suppressed gunfire barely audible. With a few quiet pops, those men collapsed entirely. As they prepared to take their own lives, a plume of white smoke enveloped the courtyard, and the intruders' bodies went limp. The special forces emerged from the shadows, delivering swift kicks to the incapacitated figures. The attackers, now horrified, found themselves unable to end their own lives. One special forces soldier kicked an assailant's jaw. Who are these people? Why are they so well informed? Princess Chizuan covered her eyes. They remain as ruthless as ever, she stated. Cheng Chumo remained silent. One must be ruthless to stand firm. And only the truly formidable special forces could survive to this day. Master, the task has been accomplished, one of the special forces reported. The courtyard housed only a few dozen operatives. The rest were concealed in other locations, as the space could hardly accommodate 300 individuals. Even if each person occupied 1 square meter, 300 would require 300 square meters, and the courtyard barely measured 200. Ensure it is cleanly handled. Cheng Chumo commanded. The special forces scratched their heads. What does cleanly handled mean? Kill. If it was merely to kill, why go to such lengths to leave witnesses? The soldier mused. The master must be enchanted by beauty, as his judgment seems clouded. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened. The soldier's thoughts were clearly etched on his face, revealing an amusing expression. Hee. I can't take it anymore. This is too entertaining. Princess Chizuan chuckled, thoroughly enjoying the company of the special forces. When she had been captured by the rebels, she had felt utterly helpless. Had it not been for the special forces rescuing her, her fate would have been dire. If you can extract anything, do so. If not, eliminate them, Cheng Chumo instructed sternly. The special forces, serious in demeanor, understood that inquiry was a skill they had honed well. At the tavern, Li Chong paced restlessly in his room. Why haven't they returned yet? This is unexpected, he muttered. A middle-aged man sat calmly, sipping tea. His mission had already been fulfilled. With Xue Guan gravely injured, the news would surely weaken the Tang army's offensive. I have received word that the Wang family has instructed not to harm concubine Chao. The middle-aged man stated. Li Chong's face darkened. He had intended to carry out the deed discreetly, without sharing the spoils. He had not anticipated that the Wang family was already aware. Does the Wang family still believe we are in the Jingguan era? Do they think they hold sway over the Tang dynasty? Li Chong exclaimed angrily. The middle-aged man remained silent. Who held power in the Tang was of little consequence. The crucial matter was that the Tang dynasty refrained from attacking the Nanzhao kingdom. That is your concern. The prestige of the aristocratic families has diminished significantly. Even if they are not on par with the newly elevated families, they cannot compete, the middle-aged man remarked. Li Chong clenched his fists, anxiety gnawing at him. Could he truly reclaim all that he had lost? Your beef has arrived, esteemed guest, a young servant's voice called from outside. Li Chong opened the door, and the servant stepped in, promptly delivering a resounding slap across Li Chong's face. Fool, who told you to go after others? The servant scolded. The middle-aged man was taken aback, unable to comprehend the situation. Chapter 387, The Young Servant. How dare this servant strike Li Chong? The unexpected unfolded further. Li Chong knelt on one knee, unable to raise his head. The servant used a white cloth from his shoulder to wipe Li Chong's face, attempting to erase the red imprint left by the slap. No matter how forcefully he scrubbed, it remained. Growing frantic, the servant clutched Li Chong's head, scrubbing vigorously until Li Chong's face appeared as though it had shed a layer of skin. The servant surveyed his handiwork with satisfaction, cleaning his hands with the cloth before tossing it onto Li Chong's face. If you act on your own volition again, I shall flay you alive, the servant declared cheerfully, reverting to the obsequious demeanor of a typical innkeeper. You disgrace your father's name by collaborating with the enemy. The servant turned to the middle-aged man. The latter fumed with rage. Li Chong, however, was not intimidated by this servant. He slammed his hands on the table and stood. Say that again if you dare. The middle-aged man challenged. The servant leisurely approached the middle-aged man, their distance dwindling to mere centimeters. You are the waste of an enemy nation? Nanzhao? Do you truly believe that the Tang lacks the power to annihilate you? The servant taunted. The middle-aged man swung a fist towards the servant, his hand mere centimeters from the servant's face. In horror, he stared at the young servant, who had plunged a silver needle into his heart. With another push, the middle-aged man would meet his demise. Now may I speak in peace? The servant asked. The middle-aged man nodded. The servant withdrew the silver needle, and the middle-aged man collapsed back into his seat, too fearful to meet the servant's gaze. A multitude of questions swirled in his mind. Who was this servant? Why had the Wang family remained silent? Could there be secrets they were unaware of? If the Tang sought to obliterate your Nanzhao kingdom, it would require but one person. Niu, the servant declared, lifting a teacup from the table and taking a sip, finding it devoid of flavor. You may find it hard to believe, but let me assure you, if the Tang truly wished to extinguish you, it would be this simple. Conspiracies and schemes are futile. A rather tiresome individual is merely entertaining you, and you naively assume that everything unfolds according to your designs. You presume to be worthy, the servant exclaimed, breaking into a manic laughter. After a fit of laughter, the servant turned his attention back to Li Chong. The person you are waiting for will not return. Do not send anyone else to wait. The attendant remarked, then stood up, picked up a rag in front of Li Chong, and departed. The middle-aged man sighed with relief, finding the attendant to be quite mad, terrifying, indeed. Who is that person? He inquired. Li Chong sat helplessly on the ground, his back drenched. He is a dead man. Li Chong silently lamented, his lips sealed, not uttering a word. After the attendant descended to the kitchen, he began slicing beef. A plate of beef, devoid of donkey tendons. Today's fare was not meant for Cheng Chumo. As he prepared to conclude his task, the attendant carried the food box to the government office. I am here to deliver a meal, he announced. The constable and the attendant were familiar with one another, and no suspicions arose. The attendant smoothly made his way to the government office, traversing the familiar route to the backyard. The bald elder smiled upon seeing the attendant. What brings you here at this hour? I certainly did not order donkey meat, he said. The attendant replied, in my line of work. One knows many people yet remains unfamiliar with them. Even if you don't eat, I must still deliver to you. As he spoke, he opened the food box. The elder tossed a gold piece to the attendant. You must have amassed quite a fortune over the years. Why not start your own business? He suggested, sampling a piece of meat. Not bad, he praised. The attendant stood by, smiling silently. Make sure to send some to that girl as well, the elder added. The attendant complied. Who would have thought that the longtime attendant in the city was actually an opponent? The bald elder never imagined such a twist. The attendant, acknowledging the request, carried a plate of meat to a room. Are you there? He called at the door of Lady Chow. The door opened, and Lady Chow ushered him inside. It's dangerous here. You should leave, she urged. The attendant chuckled. Has Chung Chumo taken you yet? He teased. Lady Chow shot him a glare. Don't speak nonsense. I speak no falsehood. Do not attempt to deceive Chung Chumo, or you shall regret it, the attendant warned. Lady Chow's expression was complex. How could she survive without deception? She had come to Lingnan specifically to seek the attendant. Looking at him, her heart ached. You have already wounded Chung Chumo. Your vendetta is avenged. Why do you not depart? She implored. The attendant feigned indifference, surveying the room. There are few I admire in this life. My brother is one, and Chung Chumo is another, he stated. Hearing this, Lady Chow felt even more sympathy for him. Listen to me. You cannot contend with Chung Chumo. Depart quickly and do not attempt to approach him again, she urged. The attendant shook his head. No one is a fool. He knows Chung Chumo is not dead. Of course, Chung Chumo is aware that I am not merely an attendant. He has not apprehended me because he is yet to tire of the game. As the attendant remarked, Chung Chumo is a man of boredom. Rare to find something to do. I understand, he continued. I came to inform you that the events here can no longer be concealed. It would be best for you to confess to Chung Chumo and seek a favorable resolution for yourself. With that, he exited the room. Upon leaving, he found the bald elder still indulging in wine and meat. The attendant approached and bowed. You are simply unable to comprehend. Do not emulate your so-called father, who died at 14. Be wiser, the elder advised. The attendant smiled wryly, realizing that while he thought he could conceal everything, the elder was aware of it all but chose not to reveal it, perhaps out of a sense of harmlessness. Thank you, old sir. I am merely indignant and wish to test my limits, the attendant replied. Ha ha ha, you are quite amusing. I shall lend you a hand, the elder said. The attendant's expression brightened as he bowed and departed. Lady Chow emerged from her room and sat opposite the bald elder. Do you truly believe Chung Chumo cares for the treasures you possess? The moment he dueled with me, he became a recluse, the elder stated. Lady Chow smiled bitterly, realizing that being abandoned by Chung Chumo and Princess Chi Zun made the situation abundantly clear. Chung Chumo no longer wished for her company. The time for confrontation had arrived. I merely wish to ensure my own safety, she stated. The elder chose not to engage further. There are many paths to self-preservation, and deception is not necessary, especially not against one who has long since forsaken fame and fortune. The elder had to concede that Chung Chumo possessed the means to rival him, both in combat and strategy. Chapter 388. Princess Chi Zun confronts Lady Chow. Young lady, one must act righteously. When one strays, the hearts of others will also stray. You believe your self-preservation is justified. What of others' opinions? Was it destined to be yours, or did you deceive them? The elder remarked. Today, he spoke more than usual, typically directing his teachings toward his disciple, Shuiguan. The elder stood, casting a deep glance at Lady Chow before departing. Lady Chow forced a smile as she rose. Soon, her expression returned to normal. Perhaps the elder was correct. However, one should not counsel others on kindness without experiencing their suffering. Back in her room, Lady Chow found herself unable to sleep, constantly fearing someone would enter. When Chung Chumo was present, she felt the safest, as if he would shield her from any catastrophe, providing an unprecedented sense of security. Gritting her teeth, she donned her clothes, deciding to return to the small courtyard. She knew where the secret passage lay and the route back. With a lantern in hand, she left her room. The bald elder, seated under a tree in meditation, opened his eyes, glanced in the direction of Lady Chow, smiled, and then closed his eyes again. An hour later, Lady Chow arrived at the small courtyard. Approaching the door, she whispered, "Are you asleep?" I was alone and afraid to sleep. Chung Chumo, lying in bed, opened his eyes. Princess Chi Zun was sleeping soundly under the covers. Chung Chumo rose and went to open the door. Princess Chi is sleeping, he said quietly. Could you accompany me outside to talk? Lady Chow asked. Very well. Chung Chumo replied, following her outside. I'm sorry. I should not have deceived you, Lady Chow confessed. Chung Chumo remained silent, leaning against a chair, waiting for her to continue. Lady Chow bit her lip, uncertain of how to proceed with her explanation. A long silence ensued. Trust is reciprocal. If you cannot earn my trust, I can afford to give you time, but you would do well to behave yourself, Chung Chumo remarked. Chow Fei nodded vigorously. At a loss for words. Go back to sleep, Chung Chumo instructed. Chow Fei nodded again and followed him to his chamber. Cheng Chimo gently pushed Princess Qi further inside. Today, Qiao Fei lay in the center, while Princess Qi showed no signs of waking. Nestled in the blankets and sleeping soundly, Qiao Fei gradually closed her eyes, her emotions in turmoil. She had grown fond of this feeling of being protected. You were the first person to protect me, Qiao Fei confessed. Cheng Chimo replied with vague remarks, while Qiao Fei continued to speak. She recounted the amusing times when she married King Qiao, how the ugly brute had the audacity to disdain her, claiming her family was of a fallen status unworthy of him. After Li Yunji's death, she was brought to the Eastern Palace by Li Shimin. Following the 4th year of the Jingguan era, Li Shimin no longer resided in the royal palace, confining himself to the Lizing Hall and the Taiji Hall. The Lizing Hall belonged to Empress Changsan, and due to Li Yuan's dissatisfaction with Li Shimin but approval of Empress Changsan, she was allowed to reside there. The Taiji Hall served as the administrative hub, a place Li Yuan had no choice but to let Li Shimin frequent. Qiao Fei endured a difficult time in the Eastern Palace, facing constant ostracism. Li Shimin often stayed in the Lizing Hall, leaving her unattended. It was only after Empress Changsun was declared dead that Li Shimin remembered her. Throughout her life, she had been devoid of support. Now, being sheltered by Cheng Chimo reminded her of her childhood when she had family to protect her, a time filled with bliss. In truth, her status did not match that of Li Yunji. Nominally, she was Yang Xiong's daughter, a mere embellishment that Li Yunji had applied to himself, while she was not. As she spoke, Cheng Chimo fell asleep. Qiao Fei moved closer and planted a kiss on his cheek. She had prepared herself for being sent back, yet to her surprise, Cheng Chimo allowed her to remain. In the early morning, Princess Qi let out a piercing scream, glaring at Qiao Fei. Who permitted your return? She demanded fiercely. After discovering Qiao Fei's deception, Princess Qi no longer regarded her as a sister, looking down upon her instead. Princess Qi's plight was far more tragic, and she had told no lies. Cheng Chimo, undeterred, rose to practice shooting coins outside. Qiao Fei found herself cornered by Princess Qi. Speak. Who allowed you to return? Why did you deceive me? Princess Qi pressed. Qiao Fei bit her lip in silence. Princess Qi, furious, pinched Qiao Fei's inner thigh forcefully. Will you speak? She demanded. Ouch, it hurts. Qiao Fei cried, finally grasping why Princess Qi had screamed so loudly when Cheng Chimo pinched her. It truly hurt. Seeing her cry only infuriated Princess Qi further, who pinched her several more times. Cry again, and I'll truly make you regret it, she warned. Qiao Fei clutched her thigh, daring not to weep, gazing pitifully at Princess Qi. You once treated me so well, Qiao Fei said, trying to appeal to her emotions. Yet she could not afford to let Princess Qi continue pinching her. It was far too painful. Humph, don't feign innocence. I treated you well because I believed you worthy. Now that you are not, I will certainly punish you. Strip, and see how I deal with you. Princess Qi declared. Qiao Fei looked at her in terror. Princess Qi smirked coldly, and as Qiao Fei hesitated, she seized her and began to strip her clothes off. Qiao Fei lay on the bed, paralyzed with fear. Princess Qi, wielding a ruler she had procured from somewhere, began to strike her backside. Qiao Fei's eyes widened in pain. She wanted to scream but held back, biting the blanket and shedding tears. Princess Qi grew increasingly exhilarated with each strike, caressing Qiao Fei's smooth back. Will you speak? She inquired. Qiao Fei shivered all over. I will speak. She cried out in fear, unable to endure any longer, fearing it would be the end of her. She began to recount everything, and Princess Qi listened intently, interjecting with slaps whenever she heard something displeasing. Qiao Fei was thoroughly subdued, revealing everything without a trace of concealment. An hour later, Princess Qi carried her out of the room, and Qiao Fei limped behind her. Husband, she told me everything. Am I not impressive? Princess Qi proclaimed. Cheng Chimo smiled faintly as he turned to Princess Qi. Then tell me, who is that little second? He asked. Princess Qi was momentarily taken aback. Little second? Qiao Fei never mentioned anything about him. Princess Qi's expression soured as she turned to glare at Qiao Fei, who instinctively recoiled a few steps back. I don't know who the little second is, Qiao Fei stammered. Princess Qi's face twisted into a cold smile. This woman dared not be honest, and her punishment had been too lenient. Come with me to my room. Let me show you how to truly handle you, Princess Qi commanded. Qiao Fei attempted to flee but was seized by Princess Qi and dragged back into the room. Soon, Qiao Fei's cries echoed within. Cheng Chimo, speechless, wondered at the severity of the punishment. He stepped outside to the courtyard, where Han Tu was polishing a gun at the entrance. Upon seeing Cheng Chimo, he stood at attention. What orders do you have, my lord? Han Tu asked. Is there any commotion outside? Cheng Chimo inquired. Han Tu shook his head, perplexed by the unusual silence outside, noting only the officials were apprehending spies. None, he replied. Cheng Chimo furrowed his brow, confused by the circumstances. Shouldn't they have captured Qiao Fei and discovered the treasure by now? Was the treasure not alluring? It couldn't be. Chapter 389. The Wang family arrives to capture. Let us apprehend them, Cheng Chimo instructed. Han Tu complied. Cheng Chimo returned to the courtyard, forcing a smile, pondering how he had anticipated a comprehensive capture, only to find it abruptly concluding. It must be that little second, Cheng Chimo mused, his expression darkening. He had not expected a mere second to thwart his plans. Dare to cross me, and when I catch you, I will make you pay, Cheng Chumo declared. Han Tu led his special forces to the inn. Oh, so it is General Han, a middle-aged man announced as he stood before the tavern. The little second was behind him, restrained by several burly men. Han Tu did not recognize this man. Who are you? He asked. The middle-aged man ignored Han Tu and turned to the little second. How do you think I should punish you? He asked. The little second cast a fleeting glance at him. You should answer me, Han Tu insisted. A special forces soldier returned to inform Cheng Chumo of the developments. After hearing the report, Cheng Chumo rose to his feet just as Princess Chi Zun emerged with Chao Fei. We shall dine together, Cheng Chumo announced. Princess Chi Zun responded with enthusiasm. Great. I'm so hungry after all that. Chao Fei looked at Cheng Chumo with a pitiful gaze, hoping he would speak on her behalf. She truly wished to avoid further torment from Princess Chi Zun, as it was excruciating. The princess had learned her methods from an unknown source, and Chao Fei found herself utterly defenseless. If she were to face another interrogation that night, she feared she might not withstand the pressure of silence. However, Cheng Chumo feigned ignorance. Speak on her behalf to Princess Chi Zun? What a farcical notion. The princess was, after all, one of his own. Upon arriving at the inn, he found Han Tu and a middle-aged man still locked in confrontation. The middle-aged man's eyes widened in terror upon seeing Cheng Chumo approach. Your Majesty, he stammered, hastily bowing and not daring to look up. His mind was in turmoil. He had never anticipated Cheng Chumo's presence in Lingnan. He cursed his family's intelligence-gathering incompetence for failing to inform him of such a significant matter. Ah, it is you, Cheng Chumo remarked with a smile, causing the middle-aged man to nearly weep. Deep down, he harbored a profound fear of Cheng Chumo, knowing all too well of his ruthless tendencies. He had been confined in a coffin for 3 days by Cheng Chumo, and upon his release, he had relinquished the position of the less significant family leader, even contemplating a monastic life. It is indeed I, Wang Donghua interjected. Cheng Chumo turned his gaze to the inn's servant standing behind Wang Donghua. Release the man, he commanded. Wang Donghua hesitated, and Cheng Chumo frowned. Release him, he reiterated. Wang Donghua complied hastily. Cheng Chumo ignored him further and addressed the servant. Go prepare some meat, with tendons. The servant nodded eagerly and scurried off to fulfill the request. Cheng Chumo strolled into the inn, hands clasped behind his back. Li Chang and the others were all restrained within the premises. Take them away, Han Tu ordered, and the special forces promptly complied. Wang Donghua stood by the table, silent as a child caught in wrongdoing, his mind racing with dread. This was the end. He was certain the family's foolishness would lead to their doom. Cheng Chumo must have learned all about the affairs with the Nanzhao kingdom. Surely, he would bury the Wang family. The servant returned with a plate of beef. Princess Chi Zun beckoned Chao Fei to sit and eat. Chao Fei stole a glance at the servant, contemplating how to ensure his safety. Yet, the servant remained unperturbed. Sir, do give it a taste. I prepared this meat myself. I have lived in Lingnan for 30 years and served as a waiter in this establishment for 5, he said, offering Cheng Chumo a pair of chopsticks after wiping them clean. Cheng Chumo accepted them and took a bite. Quite delicious, he praised. Han Tu instructed the others to wait outside, deferring their matters for a later discussion. Cheng Chumo then invited the remaining 4 to sit. The servant complied and took a seat. Cheng Chumo scrutinized him, curiosity piquing about the servant's true identity. I am quite intrigued as to why you pricked me, he inquired. Because I bear a grudge against you. Without pricking you, I could not find peace within myself, the servant replied. Cheng Chumo's curiosity deepened regarding the servant's identity as he glanced at Chao Fei, surmising she must know who he was. He did not wish the servant to reveal his identity. Rather, he hoped Chao Fei would speak. Chao Fei bit her lip, while Princess Chi Zun glared at her, discreetly pinching her thigh. Chao Fei winced in pain, but felt gratitude towards the princess for her subtle support. She understood that the princess was testing her resolve. Chao Fei turned to Cheng Chumo. I have nothing to say, she declared, and with that, she broke down in tears. The servant offered a wry smile as he poured a cup of wine for Cheng Chumo. Please, do not ask further. My name is Li Quan, the second son of Li Shimin. Shortly after my birth, I was given to Li Zhiyun by Li Yuan. Chao Fei has not fared well since entering the palace. As evidenced by her title, which still follows that of Prince Chao, Li Yuanji. Li Shimin never regarded her as a consort, and after his death, he left an edict forbidding her from being buried in the royal tombs. Upon hearing this, Cheng Chumo comprehended the gravity of the situation. Li Quan, the second son of Li Shimin, was a figure shrouded in obscurity. He was not favored, not only by Li Yuan but also by Li Shimin. Cheng Chumo now understood why Li Quan felt compelled to prick him. It was a symbolic gesture of the severed ties to the Li Tang dynasty. Cheng Chumo looked at Chao Fei and grasped why she dared not speak the truth. Had Li Quan not mentioned the significance of titles, he would never have realized their implications. Li Shimin had been solely interested in the treasures. Enough of the tears, the past is behind us, Cheng Chumo reassured her. Princess Chi Zun sighed in relief, having intended to provoke Cheng Chumo's compassion to secure Chao Fei's safety. She realized her actions were perhaps excessive and retrieved a handkerchief to wipe Chao Fei's tears. Do not weep. I shall cease my reprimands, she promised. Chao Fei chuckled softly. Princess Chi Zun appeared rather endearing in that moment. She now understood the princess's well-meaning intentions. Thank you, Xiao Fei expressed gratefully. Cheng Chumo turned his attention back to the servant. What connection do you have with the Wang family? He inquired again. Li Quan offered a bitter smile. He wished he could claim some connection, but if he did, he would not be residing in Lingnan. Those individuals were all summoned by Li Chang, he explained. Cheng Chumo nearly forgot about Li Chang. They had been sent away together as children, for Li Chang was the offspring of a princess and could not remain in the Eastern Palace. Li Chang and that middle-aged man are both dead, Han Tu announced as he entered. Cheng Chumo frowned. How did they die? Poisoned, Han Tu replied. Princess Chizuan quickly produced a silver needle to test the food for toxins. The needle showed no reaction, prompting her to pat her chest in relief. That frightened me, she exclaimed. It must have been the Wang family's doing, Li Quan asserted. Cheng Chumo chuckled. The Wang family possessed remarkable audacity to instigate such affairs under his nose. They would require a firm reprimand. What are your plans moving forward? Cheng Chumo asked, choosing not to dwell on the matter of Li Chang. For the dead warranted no further discussion. Chapter 390. The second son of Li Shimin, Li Quan reflected, finding life rather dull, especially for someone in his position. Despite his lack of favor, he was born a prince, with an annual stipend sufficient for an ordinary person to toil a lifetime. He was indeed a formally titled prince. The Prince of Chu. I wish to find something to occupy my time, he stated. Princess Chizuan felt a surge of determination. Li Quan's act of pricking her husband demanded retribution. Her husband was magnanimous and unconcerned about such trivial matters, but she could not allow him to suffer injustice. Suddenly, with a startled gasp, she waved the silver needle in her hand, inadvertently pricking Li Quan. His eyes widened in shock as he glanced between the needle and Princess Chizuan, who appeared quite apologetic. I am terribly sorry. I was reminded of something that frightened me, and I did not mean to prick you, she explained. Quite all right. Li Quan replied with a wry smile. Princess Chizuan adjusted her position and once again plunged the silver needle into Li Quan's flesh. Li Quan wore a perplexed expression, questioning if she could truly pierce him twice more. You said it wouldn't matter, deceiver, Princess Chizuan retorted, extracting the needle with an air of displeasure. She tossed it onto the table, tilting her head as she stifled a laugh. Cheng Chumo felt a quiet pride in Princess Chizuan, who seemed to understand the reason behind his sleepless nights. To hold a grudge without retaliation is not the mark of a gentleman, he mused. What do you intend to do? Cheng Chumo shifted the topic. Li Quan glanced between Cheng Chumo and the chuckling Princess Chizuan, feeling a surge of tears welling up. It was undoubtedly intentional on her part. The needle Cheng Chumo had received was exceedingly fine, while the one Princess Chizuan wielded was thicker than a sack needle. The question of pain aside, his clothing was already stained a deep crimson. I, too, find myself rather bored, Li Quan admitted. Cheng Chumo nodded, resonating with that sentiment. Did you not fancy being a waiter? Perhaps you could follow me and serve as my attendant, he suggested. Li Quan readily agreed. Concubine Chao looked at Cheng Chumo with a face full of gratitude. She shared a close bond with Li Quan. When she was recently seized by Li Shimin and taken to the palace, the women of Chao Wang's household were confined in a small dwelling, lacking food and drink. Had it not been for Li Quan's mother, she might have perished from starvation. She had contemplated seeking vengeance against Li Quan's mother, but upon her passing from illness, that debt of gratitude transferred onto Li Quan. Concubine Chao herself had borne a child, a son of Li Shimin, who succumbed to illness in the 21st year of the Jingguan era. In truth, many mysterious deaths in the Tang dynasty were attributed to illness. Eventually, Concubine Chao learned the reason for her child's demise. Li Ji could not tolerate him. Thank you, my lord, Concubine Chao expressed. Li Quan remained speechless, pondering Concubine Chao's advanced age. Cheng Chumo chuckled softly, choosing not to respond to her. The excessive number of women in the harem had its drawbacks. His age no longer found him as eager to explore the unknown as in his youth. Driven by emotion, restrained by propriety, that is commendable, he reflected. Once enamored with beautiful legs, he now appreciated the entirety of a figure, merely for the sake of admiration. Bring Wang Donghua in, Cheng Chumo commanded. The attendant complied. Stepping to the entrance of the inn to summon him, Han Tu cast a fleeting glance at the attendant. The master wishes to see Wang Donghua, the attendant announced. Han Tu regarded the attendant with a gaze full of surprise, not anticipating that the master would tolerate him. Take him in, Han Tu instructed. The attendant turned to Wang Donghua, who felt a jolt of anxiety. Had he truly become affiliated with Cheng Chumo? Would he discover the truth about Li Chang? Would he learn of the Wang family's dealings with the Nanzhao kingdom? Taking a deep breath, Wang Donghua followed the attendant into the inn, where he bowed and greeted Cheng Chumo, Your Majesty. Does your family seek to annihilate itself? Cheng Chumo inquired. Treason and betrayal were the lines Cheng Chumo would not allow the aristocracy to cross, as long as they remained within those bounds. He would refrain from retaliating or causing them trouble. The Wang family had already transgressed that threshold. Wang Donghua forced a smile, pondering the myriad of families within a nation, especially one with a history spanning nearly a millennium. They were not a monolithic entity, but rather a collection of factions. Li Shimin had once supported a younger son, who now possessed the means to contend with the main lineage. Regarding your family affairs, I can only speak as a clan elder, Wang Donghua asserted. Cheng Chumo had buried not just Wang Donghua's ambitions, but also his reputation. From that moment onward, his standing within the clan plummeted. I will address the matters concerning your family. Now what should we do about the Nanzhao kingdom? Given the insufficient military funds, do you not think your family should make some gesture? I understand you lack authority, but inform them that I require 3 years' worth of income from the Wang family. You may go now, Cheng Chumo ordered. Wang Donghua complied, leaving the inn with a bitter smile. In the presence of Cheng Chumo, killing seemed to embolden the Wang family's faction. Li Shimin, if only you understood the detrimental repercussions your imitation of the enfeoffment order has brought to the Tang dynasty. Wang Donghua lamented. It was indeed Li Shimin's doing. His emulation of the enfeoffment order from the Han dynasty had weakened the aristocracy, but also laid the groundwork for future perils. Those families could no longer operate as a unified front, leading to division and discord. A schism within a family could result in devastating consequences, and the common folk suffered as well. Would life truly improve after a division? Far from it. Countless brothers had turned against one another due to familial disputes. They severed their family's prospects, fracturing a once mighty lineage into smaller factions. Their strength diminished, yet tragically, the ones who divided reveled in their actions. They had forfeited the opportunity for legacy. A single chopstick is easily broken, but 10 are much harder to snap. Such is the wisdom of our ancestors. The notion that each individual is an independent entity, possessing independent thoughts, is laughable. The existence of the aristocracy becomes increasingly tenuous. If the Huaxia had aristocrats, would foreign capitalists be their adversaries? They dig their own graves. The Han dynasty perished through its own strength. Even during civil strife, neighboring states dared not invade. Why? Because division is paramount. It signifies strength. Cheng Chumo chose not to linger in the inn, leading his entourage to the government office to address the Nanzhao kingdom. Shueguan was carried out to meet Cheng Chumo, having been wounded by an arrow to his backside. Fortunate that his assassins were unarmed. Your Majesty, Shueguan said, lying on the stretcher, his face flushed with embarrassment. Rest well, I will manage the affairs with the Nanzhao kingdom, Cheng Chumo reassured him. Shueguan chuckled through tears, yearning to achieve great deeds, but now incapacitated. Perhaps his master was right. He should learn the art of war from Cheng Chumo. I wish to assist you in tending to the horse, Shueguan offered. Han Tu shot Shueguan a glance, ignoring him. He intended to find an opportunity to deal with him, as he coveted his position. This job was one he wished to pass on to his son. Unaware of having offended Han Tu, Shueguan continued to beseech Cheng Chumo for the chance to learn from him. Cheng Chumo patted his rear, causing Shueguan to nearly faint from the pain. Very well, Cheng Chumo replied, laughing heartily as he departed. Upon reaching the main hall, Cheng Chumo declared, in Sikingzu, anyone aiding the enemy shall be treated as a traitor. With this command, the city commenced a thorough roundup. The role of the attendant became evident. He recognized nearly half of the individuals apprehended, facilitating a smooth operation with the soldiers. Within a few days, the entire prefecture underwent a sweeping cleanse. The attendant returned to the government office, where Cheng Chumo was in the courtyard, enjoying tea with the bald elder. Are you interested in taking on another disciple? Cheng Chumo inquired, observing the elder. The elder's hand trembled slightly around his teacup, feeling tempted. The attendant was indeed a remarkable talent. Setting aside his abilities, his experiences as someone who had toiled through the ranks made him more amenable to instruction. Such individuals possess a profound sense of gratitude, unlike Shueguan, who is perpetually discontented and lacks decisiveness in his actions. This is indeed a source of frustration. For those like the bald elder, if they choose to intervene, they must resolve matters entirely. Shueguan evidently falls short of this standard. The city has witnessed multiple purges of traitors, yet each time, remnants remain, leaving the task incomplete. Is it truly so difficult? It is not. He can investigate a person's lineage for 3 generations. It merely depends on the desire to apprehend. The bald elder is incensed by the fact that, despite the presence of countless traitors, military funds are scarce. Which traitor is not wealthy? Capturing 1,000 traitors would yield ample resources. A tiger, having gone days without food, would seek to prey on a wolf. Clearly, Shueguan is incapable of such decisiveness. Very well, the bald elder responded. Cheng Chumo glanced at the waiter, who appeared troubled. His most esteemed master was not the bald elder. The bald elder's expression darkened, his anger palpable as he puffed his cheeks and glared. Do you think so little of me? Do you wish to be a disciple of Cheng Chumo? The bald elder remarked. Cheng Chumo wore a smug expression, further inciting the elder's ire, having been outmaneuvered by Cheng Chumo. If you desire, I would accept you, Cheng Chumo stated. The waiter remained visibly conflicted. I wish to study under Han Tu, he admitted. Cheng Chumo opened his mouth, at a loss for words to describe his current emotions. The bald elder shook his head and continued sipping his tea. He and Cheng Chumo shared a similar sentiment. He had anticipated being outdone by Cheng Chumo, yet instead found himself bested by an obscure stableman. This was a bitter pill for the bald elder to swallow. Cheng Chumo, too, felt a sense of unease. Go speak with Han Tu, Cheng Chumo instructed. The waiter complied and departed to find Han Tuesday. Han Tu was seated at the entrance, polishing his firearm, and glanced up at the waiter without acknowledging him, returning to his task. The waiter sat beside Han Tu and produced a cowhide-wrapped parcel. Taste this meat, he urged. Han Tu set his gun aside, accepted the package, and opened it to reveal pre-sliced donkey meat. He took a piece and sampled it. Quite good, Han Tu remarked. The waiter's heart soared. If you accept me as your disciple, I shall cook for you every day, he promised. Han Tu spat out the meat. You keep it for yourself, Take it away, he replied, closing his eyes and ignoring the waiter. The waiter scratched his head, pondering where he had gone awry. Shall I fetch you something else to eat? He suggested, believing that Han Tu must not enjoy donkey meat and that beef would surely please him. Han Tu, exasperated, desired to distance himself but found no refuge. He drew a dagger from his boot and placed it before him, the implication clear. Another word and he would strike. The waiter glanced at the dagger, recognizing that the master he admired was indeed exceptional, stern and taciturn, always prepared for action. I must become Han Tu's disciple. Only such a man can cultivate a disciple of renown. He did not regard the bald elder as a suitable master. The Shuiguan taught by the bald elder seemed unimpressive, unable to deal with a mere Li Chong and an unnamed spy, sustaining injuries in the process, a quintessential failure. He also doubted Cheng Chumo's potential as a master, seeing him as a mundane individual who would only teach when boredom struck, neglecting his responsibilities otherwise. Han Tu, however, was different. He focused solely on one task, guarding Cheng Chumo and watching over him. A man like this, if he were to take on a disciple, would undoubtedly invest great effort in their education. Such a person would not allow for mistakes. As the saying goes, a strict teacher produces exceptional students. Only a no-nonsense instructor like Han Tu could nurture formidable disciples. In the courtyard, Cheng Chumo occasionally stole glances at the entrance, shaking his head. How could that boy have chosen Han Tu? Was he not more reliable than Han Tu? What is the origin of your guard? The bald elder inquired. His curiosity piqued regarding what manner of individual could surpass him as a suitable mentor. The waiter was remarkably astute. He would not err in his choice. The boy, once an ordinary man, fortuitously married a princess of the previous dynasty, who was indeed intriguing. Cheng Chumo affirmed, that princess is quite fascinating. She is not the daughter of Yang Guang, but his sister. Legend has it that Yang Guang forcibly consorted with his sister when she was merely 3 years old. In truth, such tales are mere fabrications spun by those who opposed him to tarnish his name. Yang Guang's achievements are undeniable. He constructed the Grand Canal, a benefit to his era and an enduring legacy. His vision was remarkably advanced. He harbored a thorn in his heart, namely, Liaodong. Upon relocating the capital to Luoyang, he never returned to Chang'an. It was during this period that Yang Guang's sister escaped Chang'an, cradled by a maid. Later, she grew up and married Han Tuesday. To provide a better life for his wife, Han Tu resolutely embarked on the Silk Road, only to suffer misfortune at the hands of a fortunate general. Cheng Chumo's pursuit of the Jeju people ultimately saved his wife, who later became Han Tu's wife, and his path as Cheng Chumo's stableman began. His experiences are indeed captivating, filled with numerous trials. In his downfall, he sought sustenance. In times of vigor, he thrived as a merchant. While Cheng Chumo may not value him, in their village, he stands as an unparalleled warrior. The achievements of a man like him today are no mere coincidence. The bald elder remained silent after hearing this. Such a person's failure would be an affront to nature. A man must endure betrayal to achieve success. Only then can he recognize reality and avoid the entanglements of affection. Han Tu has not faced betrayal. Rather, he has endured hardships more severe than betrayal itself. Cheng Chumo and the bald elder turned their gazes toward the entrance. The waiter, unsure of how to provoke Han Tu, found himself on the receiving end of punches and kicks. Master, please do not strike me. If you dislike me, I can bring you something else. The waiter pleaded, cradling his head. Han Tu, now breathing heavily, struck harder in his frustration. The waiter tumbled into the courtyard, scrambled to his feet, and dashed behind Cheng Chumo. Han Tu shot him a fierce glare before returning to his seat. Cheng Chumo regarded the waiter. You possess a remarkable talent for inciting Han Tu's ire, he remarked. The waiter, feeling timid, stole a glance toward the entrance before quickly turning away. I thought my master was like my elder brother, he confessed. Cheng Chumo's face turned a shade of purple as he grasped why Han Tu had assaulted him. Everyone knew of Li Chengqian's peculiar inclinations, even this younger brother, who had long been absent from his side. The waiter revered Li Chengqian for his audacity to rebel, a bravery he himself lacked. Chapter 392. The cactus is not a flower, your majesty. Please assist me in this matter. I truly wish to study under Han Tu, the waiter implored. Cheng Chumo nodded, resolved to lend his support. After the waiter expressed his gratitude, he departed, feeling exceedingly anxious as he passed through the doorway, and upon reaching a safe distance, he sprinted away. Cheng Chumo approached the entrance and seated himself opposite Han Tuesday. Accepting a disciple is not a matter of great consequence, Cheng Chumo remarked. Han Tu turned his gaze toward Cheng Chumo. I lack the time to instruct my apprentice. I am tasked with guarding the gate and attending to the war horses. Han Tu remarked. This duty is a lifelong commitment for Han Tu, unaffected by any circumstance. You may teach him to wash the horses, Cheng Chumo suggested. Han Tu was moved. If someone could assist him in washing the horses, he would be better able to fulfill Cheng Chumo's directives. Very well. Let him accompany me to wash the horses tomorrow, Han Tu declared. Haha. Cheng Chumo laughed heartily as he rose. Han Tu followed suit. Cheng Chumo patted him on the shoulder. From now on, let him wash the horses. You should spend more time with the child. We are no longer young. Cheng Chumo said. The mention of the child caused Han Tu's expression to shift awkwardly. His child had long since married and was thriving. I know where Shui Ringyue is, Han Tu stated. He went to the village to find his wife and children, only to be shot by his own child, Han Tu recounted. Cheng Chimo felt a sense of satisfaction. It was well-deserved. When you return, have a chat with him, rattle him a bit, Cheng Chimo advised. Han Tu nodded in agreement. After Cheng Chimo left the courtyard, he entered the front yard. Shueguan sat on a bench, looking haggard. He had not slept well in recent days. The same commands. The same executor. Why were the results so disparate? After issuing orders, the subordinates also apprehend people. Why is there still so much left to clean up? Cheng Chimo's orders were perplexing for Shueguan. As Cheng Chimo approached, Shueguan forced a bitter smile. I still do not understand where I fall short, he lamented. Cheng Chimo stepped beside him and playfully slapped him on the back. Shueguan's eyes widened, his pale face flushing instantly. Cheng Chimo bent down to scrutinize Shueguan's complexion. Now that is the right color. Looking so pale, you resemble a pretty boy, he remarked. Shueguan gritted his teeth, enduring the pain. Feeling a sense of injustice he could not express, Cheng Chimo sat down in front of him. The reason is quite simple. No matter how formidable you are, you remain but one individual. I alone cannot penetrate the Western Turks or massacre a city. The ability to utilize talent is paramount, Cheng Chimo elucidated. Shueguan listened intently. This time, Xiao Er achieved great merit. He is the local snake, and there are few matters in the entire state city he is unaware of, Cheng Chimo continued. Shueguan looked at Cheng Chimo, enlightenment dawning upon him. It was not that his methods were inadequate, but rather that he had failed to employ the right people. Those officials typically remain in their offices, seldom venturing out. How could they possibly identify those spies? Xiao Er, on the other hand, has a different situation. The tavern is a mixed bag, a hub where information converges. There are numerous whispers of news. Do not underestimate the whispers. They contain genuine information. The news Shueguan received paled in comparison to what Xiao Er knew. I understand now. It is indeed about utilizing people, and I must learn, Shueguan stated earnestly. Cheng Chimo shook his head. You cannot learn, he replied. Shueguan chuckled, comprehending that he truly could not. Each person's standing is different. Cheng Chimo utilizes people out of necessity, as there are many tasks he cannot accomplish alone. Shueguan can only be one who is utilized. If he could wield influence, he would be doomed. Possessing both wisdom and the ability to employ others does not make one a strategist. That is the realm of Cao Cao. Recover quickly. Join me in visiting Nanzhao. Once we resolve matters there, I shall return to Gansu to deal with the Arabs, Cheng Chimo stated. Shueguan nodded. Cheng Chimo rose to leave. Back in his room, Cheng Chimo felt a wave of boredom wash over him. He glanced at the princess of Chizuan, who was diligently practicing embroidery. The princess was deeply focused, occasionally rubbing the embroidery needle against her hair. Do not disturb me, dear husband, she said. With that, she resumed her embroidery. Cheng Chimo looked over at concubine Chao, who was assisting the princess with threading. Concubine Chao met Cheng Chimo's gaze and stood up. Cheng Chimo rose as well, and the two stepped outside. Are you quite bored, my husband? Concubine Chao inquired. Cheng Chimo, hands behind his back, gazed at the grand tree in the courtyard. A bit, he replied. Concubine Chao knelt by the flower bed, reaching out to touch the vibrant blossoms. Flowers bloom in their season, showcasing their beauty. What does it matter if they turn to dust after death? She mused. Cheng Chimo contemplated the flower bed, pondering why they did not plant cacti. Cacti are remarkably resilient. They bloom only once every 60 years, Cheng Chimo remarked. Concubine Chao paused, glancing back at him with an exasperated look. How dull, she retorted. Is this even worth debating? Cacti are not flowers, she asserted. Cheng Chimo was taken aback. Were cacti not flowers? He was uncertain. If deemed a flower, they were edible, resembling fruits. If not flowers, those who cultivate plants often have cacti, which are hardy and can withstand neglect for weeks. I shan't continue this conversation with you. Concubine Chao declared, feeling quite vexed. She had initially intended to enlighten Cheng Chimo, but he had managed to provoke her with his remark about cacti blooming every 60 years. Was he implying she was old? Cheng Chimo was truly shameless, she thought. Little did she realize how far her thoughts had extended from his simple comment. She remained entangled in the question of whether cacti were indeed flowers. Tomorrow we head to Nanzhao. You need not accompany us. It is quite perilous, Cheng Chimo warned. I care not. Cacti bloom once every 60 years. You may ask the princess of Chizuan, concubine Chao huffed, casting Cheng Chimo a fierce glare before returning to her room. Cheng Chimo mused that women are indeed capricious. A few words can incite their anger. Hands clasped behind his back, he stared at the starry sky. Why do those stars float? Does everything truly exist? Cheng Chimo pondered aloud. An elderly bald man approached, standing beside him. Does it truly exist? The old man queried. This too was a question that troubled him. If stars indeed exist, why are they so silent? If I were to say there exists an invisible hand orchestrating the world, would you believe it? Cheng Chimo posited. I would, the bald man replied decisively. Perhaps the old man is like any ordinary individual, yet his thoughts are anything but conventional. I do not believe. What do you believe? You seem to believe anything, Cheng Chimo retorted before turning and heading back to his room. The old man's face darkened with frustration. He sought to engage Cheng Chimo in debate, but with a loud slam, Cheng Chimo shut the door. The old man pointed at the door, his mouth opening, but no words emerging. Morning arrived. The group gathered for breakfast. Cheng Chimo sat in the wagon, engrossed in reading. The books before him had not been processed in any way. Much of modern literature has undergone significant alterations. A single word's change can alter the entire meaning of a text. When will the common folk be granted the privilege of reading the original works? My husband, how do you find my embroidery? The princess of Chizuin inquired. Cheng Chumo set down his book and looked at the embroidery frame in her hands. Those two ducks appear quite plump, he commented. Chapter 393. The turmoil in Nanzhao. Princess Chizuin glared at Cheng Chumo, visibly upset. This is a mandarin duck, she asserted. Cheng Chumo examined the creature again, resolute in his belief that it was merely a duck. If you wish to hear lies, consult concubine Chao, he retorted. Princess Chizuin was taken aback, turning towards concubine Chao, who was nearly exasperated while folding clothes. You. Concubine Chao stammered. Cheng Chumo resumed reading, leaving the two women seething with frustration. That night, as Cheng Chumo sought to cover himself with a quilt, the two women, in unison, kicked him aside. There's no place for you here. Go sleep with Shueguan, Princess Chizuin declared. Cheng Chumo had no desire to seek refuge with Shueguan, for his vehicle reeked while his own was fragrant. He draped his clothes over himself, while the children in the bed stifled their laughter. By the latter part of the night, the two women were fast asleep. Cheng Chumo slipped into the bed, and Princess Chizuin instinctively turned to embrace him, smacking her lips in contentment. Cheng Chumo pulled her closer, and she sleepily opened her eyes. Husband, she murmured. Cheng Chumo planted a kiss on her. Concubine Chao, covering her ears, thought to herself that Princess Chizuin was indeed unreliable. Just earlier, she had insisted that Cheng Chumo not enter the bed. A month later, Cheng Chumo arrived in Nanzhao. After examining a map, his expression darkened. Shueguan's face was grim as well. After all this time, we are still at the border city. Are you all useless? Shueguan barked. The commanding officer hung his head in silence. What is your name? Cheng Chumo inquired. Wang Chong, the officer replied. Cheng Chumo deduced that he belonged to the Wang family. Which branch of the Wang family do you hail from? He pressed. The officer remained silent, his eyes filled with derision. There is only one Wang family. What do you wish to know? He countered, revealing that he no longer felt the need to hide. He commanded 200,000 soldiers, so why fear Cheng Chumo? The family had sent word. Some matters could no longer be concealed, and the best course of action was to eliminate Cheng Chumo. This was indeed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Before Cheng Chumo could respond, a group of soldiers surrounded the tent. The Wang family has some nerve, Cheng Chumo chuckled. Prior to this, he had made thorough preparations. The special forces sprang into action, swiftly dispatching the surrounding soldiers. The officer, witnessing the chaos, burst out of the tent, fleeing under the protection of his guards. Let us go, Cheng Chumo commanded, leading his men away. The soldiers observed from a distance, perplexed as to why these individuals were departing, especially after their commander had just welcomed them. The general has decreed that they are spies from the enemy nation. Kill one, and the instigator will be promoted to captain. One officer announced. The soldiers charged forward, seizing the opportunity for advancement. The special forces tossed grenades, obliterating the soldiers in their path. Cheng Chumo and his team managed to escape unharmed. Upon returning to the border city, they gazed at the military camp from afar. They dared to deceive me. The battle reports clearly stated that we had reached the heart of Nanzhao, yet it was all a ruse, Shueguan lamented. Cheng Chumo scrutinized the military camp, which lay 30 miles away, his expression serious. They could not allow the enemy to invade the Tang dynasty with their 200,000 troops, for the Tang lacked the resources to address this threat. Cheng Chumo cast a glance at Shueguan, who appeared as though he wished to disappear into the ground. Utterly embarrassed. Your Majesty, I will persuade them, Shueguan offered. Cheng Chumo suddenly smiled. Let us toy with them, he replied. Shueguan understood that Cheng Chumo referred to the Wang family. Cheng Chumo then turned to Han Tu. Go to Yuzhou and gather troops to control everyone from the Wang family. Those who resist shall be executed without mercy, he commanded. Han Tu complied and departed. The special forces prepared to change horses, eager to rejoin the battlefield. Cheng Chumo descended from the city tower and mounted his steed. 300 special forces soldiers were ready for action, armed with short and long guns, as well as sabers. As the city gates opened, Wang Chong surprisingly did not send troops to confront them. Cheng Chumo led his men to the front of the military camp. Upon receiving news, Wang Chong's expression shifted dramatically. He had not anticipated that Cheng Chumo would dare to return. The air was charged with the intent of confrontation. General, what should we do? The soldiers asked, bewildered, as they realized they were pursuing none other than Cheng Chumo. One general remarked, he is correct. The soldiers, upon seeing Cheng Chumo and the special forces, were left in shock. The special forces had donned their uniforms, and seasoned soldiers could easily recognize them. Many soldiers had encountered the special forces years prior. News spread swiftly. The soldiers quickly learned that the special forces had arrived. Wang Chong was compelled to spread lies. Brothers, do not be deceived. How could the special forces return to Lingnan? These individuals are imposters, he proclaimed. The soldiers remained unconvinced. Imposters among the special forces? Can uniforms be faked? What about their weapons? The weaponry wielded by the special forces was the very arsenal they yearned for, far beyond what the enemy could possess. It was inconceivable. If the enemy truly had such arms, it was fortunate that Wang Chong had refrained from sending troops, for doing so would be tantamount to suicide. The enemy lacked long guns, yet they possessed cannons, all supplied by the Wang family. Kill. Cheng Chimo commanded. The special forces unsheathed their sabers and charged into the military camp. Li Chang was taken aback, ordering the soldiers to resist. However, the soldiers remained motionless, with only 1,000 of Wang's troops rushing towards Cheng Chimo and the special forces. Upon contact, the soldiers quickly realized that Cheng Chimo and the special forces were genuine. The commanding officer had lied. Regardless of what the officer said, they could fight for the empire but would not betray their country. The soldiers aimed their weapons at the officer. The special forces have always been with the emperor. Wang General, do you still wish to deceive us? One martial officer demanded. There were numerous military officers in the camp, and seeing the special forces alongside Cheng Chimo, they naturally sided with him. Cheng Chimo represented the rightful lineage of the Tang dynasty. No matter how powerful the Wang family was, they could not compare to even a strand of Cheng Chimo's hair. Wang Chang trembled, attempting to fabricate further lies, but he found himself at a loss. He gazed at the soldiers engaged in battle with Cheng Chimo, praying that his family's troops would eliminate him. Only by eliminating Cheng Chimo could he hold on to his life and persuade these martial officers. The officers, appearing loyal, were merely biding their time. Had they been in other regions, the soldiers would have already assisted Cheng Chimo in dispatching them. In the chaotic environment of Lingnan, finding truly loyal individuals was an impossibility. As he watched his bodyguards fall one by one, Wang Chang's complexion grew increasingly grim. He turned to the officers. If I perish, you will not fare any better. You all participated in the pursuit of Cheng Chimo, and let us not forget Shui Guan. The expressions of the generals changed dramatically. Indeed, they had just participated in the pursuit of Cheng Chimo, a crime severe enough to warrant execution. It was your order. We had no idea that the target of our pursuit was His Majesty, one general remarked, with the others echoing in agreement. Ignorance is no excuse. If you choose to follow me now, the Wang family will certainly not mistreat you. Cheng Chimo has abdicated. What can he offer you that we cannot? Wang Chang asserted. The generals fell silent, contemplating the reality that Cheng Chimo had indeed stepped down. Chapter 394. The Wang family sends their daughter. Wang Chang felt a surge of joy at the general's reaction. As long as these men were resolutely by his side, Cheng Chimo posed no threat. The generals were visibly tempted. The support of the esteemed Wang family would undoubtedly smooth their path ahead. Eliminate Cheng Chimo. There are many in the court who desire his demise. If you kill him, no one will be the wiser. Even if they find out, the Wang family status will enable us to extricate ourselves from any consequences. You need not worry. After Cheng Chimo's demise, I will shift all blame onto Shui Guan. With the Wang family's maneuvering, success is assured. Wang Chang pressed on. The generals had made up their minds. They sought to have it both ways. If Wang Chang's forces could overpower Cheng Chimo's special troops, they would align themselves with him. Conversely, should Wang Chang fail, they could simply claim ignorance, asserting they had no involvement. They believed Cheng Chimo would not punish them. Collectively, they gazed towards the battlefield where the special troops had just engaged with the Wang family soldiers. The latter were falling in droves. Wang Chang's expression soured as he looked at the generals. Whoever strikes first shall receive a daughter of the main lineage of the Wang family in marriage, he declared. Some generals were already itching to act. A daughter of a prestigious family is sought by many, he continued, distinguishing this from the women of common folk. Many individuals now sought to embellish their reputations by claiming their daughters were of noble birth, which was misleading. Seeking a marriage is not the same as a mere request. It is about lineage and status, not merely the woman's qualities. In the political realm, familial strength is paramount. When a noble family marries off a daughter, they provide significant advantages. For example, in a small city Cheng Chimo once visited, the county magistrate was the Wang family's son-in-law, a position he would not have qualified for otherwise. He secured the marriage and received the magistrate's position courtesy of the Wang family. This reality is why so many aspire to wed women from esteemed families. Figures like Fang Xianling and Cheng Yaojin were not exempt from this custom. They hailed from humble beginnings and could only elevate their status through strategic marriage alliances. Wei Zheng, too, emerged from a Taoist background and wed a woman from the prominent Pei family of Shandong. Several generals galloped towards Cheng Chimo, who frowned as he observed the unfolding scene. Retreat, he commanded, swiftly turning his horse around. A general's support for Wang Chang served as proof that he still commanded an army of 200,000. Cheng Chimo would not be foolish enough to attempt to defeat such a large force with merely 300 special troops. It would be a futile endeavor. Seeing Cheng Chimo flee brought Wang Chang immense joy. He cracked his whip and shouted, "Pursue!" The generals remained silent as the soldiers, bewildered, chased after Cheng Chimo. The special troops, adept in unconventional warfare, could retreat without impediment, unless faced with gunfire, which they lacked. As the special troops distanced themselves, Wang Chang let out a quiet sigh of relief, having thought he was doomed moments earlier. Who would have thought Cheng Chimo would also flee? He chuckled. Cheng Chimo's retreat instilled in him newfound confidence. The generals, having symbolically pursued for a while, eventually withdrew. Wang Chang noticed, but said nothing. This was human nature. To inspire loyalty, one must offer incentives. Without benefits, who would be willing to rebel? The soldiers from Yuzhou, driven by tales of seizing women upon entering the pass, were unaware of the realities beyond. They only knew that the women within were fair and seldom toiled, referring specifically to the daughters of wealthy landowners. The common folk still labored. Cheng Chumo returned to the border city, where Shui Guan approached him. Your Majesty, do not fret. I have just ascertained that their supplies will last only a month. After that, they will be utterly depleted, Shui Guan reported. He had resolutely decided to annihilate the 200,000 troops and had drawn 2,000 soldiers from other regions, the maximum he could manage. Defending the city with 2,000 was feasible. If they could hold out for a month, the enemy would collapse from within. Cheng Chumo regarded Shui Guan, noting the newfound ruthlessness in him, a stark contrast to his previous demeanor. In this matter, your word is law. I wish to experiment with special operations under your guidance, he stated. He spoke casually, having already gleaned the specifics from his earlier inquiries, knowing he must now follow Shui Guan's lead. He was reluctant to part with the 200,000 soldiers, yet their presence posed a significant threat to Lingnan. I intend to contact the Nanzhao Kingdom to join forces and eradicate this band of rebels, Shui Guan suggested, his strategic mind coming into play. This was indeed a sound plan, as the Nanzhao Kingdom would never dare incorporate such a large force, fearing treachery, even with the Wang family's backing. Proceed with this plan, Cheng Chumo commanded. Shui Guan smirked coldly, taking up pen and paper to draft a letter requesting supplies from the Nanzhao Kingdom under Wang Chong's name. Once completed, he departed with it in hand. Cheng Chumo rubbed his forehead, realizing the complexity of the situation he faced. He had not anticipated such challenges. The Wang family truly posed a significant threat. Your Majesty, I have returned, Han Tu announced at the door. Cheng Chumo turned to him, perplexed. Were you not tasked with neutralizing the Wang family? Why have you returned? He inquired. Han Tu entered, followed by a woman. Upon seeing Cheng Chumo, she quickly bowed. Addressing him, I pay my respects to your Majesty. She was one of Li Shimin's consorts, initially taken by Cheng Chumo's hand. After his abdication, the Wang family reclaimed her. So, it is you, Cheng Chumo remarked. The woman regarded him with a mixed expression, reflecting on how her life had been transformed by this man. Uncertain whether to express gratitude or resentment, she stated, all of this was orchestrated by Wang Hai, and we had no part in it. Since Wang Hai assumed leadership, he has altered the family strategy, shifting from expansion to forging alliances. I was meant to be sent to the king of Nanzhao. Are you unwilling? Cheng Chumo asked. I am a consort of the Tang dynasty, and I shall remain so for life. I would rather die than be wed to the ruler of a foreign nation, she declared. Cheng Chumo nodded. Take her to concubine Xiao, he instructed. Special troops are indeed required, Cheng Chumo mused, turning to Han Tu. I happened to encounter her on my way. Her luxurious carriage and the numerous escorts indicated something was amiss, Han Tu explained. Cheng Chumo nodded, assured of Han Tu's competence. I have also heard a piece of news. The railway has been cleared, and Marshal Wang Xuanzi is hastening here with special forces, Han Tu added. Cheng Chumo exhaled in relief. Wang Xuanzi had finally made his appearance. He had thought the man had gone missing. Where has he been? Cheng Chumo inquired. I heard he went to Tianzhu, Han Tu replied. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened, for Wang Xuanzi had a penchant for dealing with Tianzhu. He wondered what there was to be dealt with there. You should also rest, Cheng Chumo suggested. Han Tu complied. Cheng Chumo approached the carriage, where concubine Xiao was holding Wang Ying's hand, inquiring about her well-being. What of your other sisters? Are they all well? Concubine Xiao asked. In the palace, women vied for favor and plotted against one another, but there were 7 exceptions, the daughters of the 7 great families, whom no one dared provoke, and who had nothing to compete over. The aristocracy would not allow them to bring shame upon their families by quarreling in the palace. Chapter 395. A mixture of fish and rice. Wang Ying gently shook her head, uncertain of her sister's fates. Princess Chizuan, listening curiously, remarked, they won't be sent away like you. Will they? She looked toward Cheng Chumo. A thought struck Cheng Chumo. A clever plan unfolded in his mind. It would be prudent to have the special forces disguise themselves as Wang Ying's guards and execute a decapitation operation against Wang Chong. I will send you to Nanzhao, Cheng Chumo stated. Wang Ying's eyes welled with tears. She was unsure of Cheng Chumo's intentions and feared they were not benevolent. Cheng Chumo turned to Princess Chizuan. I need your cooperation. I believe Wang Chong must have spies here. You and concubine Xiao should depart in the carriage, creating the illusion that I am leaving with you, he explained. Princess Chizuan nodded, understanding Cheng Chumo's intent. Concubine Xiao agreed. That night, Han Tu, leading 300 men disguised as special forces, departed from the border city under the cover of darkness. The greater the secrecy, the more likely it was to attract attention. Soon, news reached Wang Chong. Inside the tent, Wang Chong roared with laughter. Cheng Chumo is nothing of consequence. There is no need for concern. He has aged. Haha, he has fled. The military generals expressed doubt. How could Cheng Chumo flee? That is not in his character. Wang Chong patiently explained, revealing that Cheng Chumo had used the cover of night to escape with 300 special forces. The generals were exhilarated. It cannot be wrong. Cheng Chumo must have sneaked away. He is afraid. Truly a toothless tiger, Wang Chong declared. The apprehension faded. With Cheng Chumo gone, they felt invincible. The generals had no objections. Capturing the border city would be a mere formality for their 200,000 troops. At dawn, Wang Chong rallied his army, preparing for a forceful assault on the border city. Shui Guan, acting on Cheng Chumo's orders, insisted on abandoning the city. Wang Chong led his troops into the city, where the supplies had not even been evacuated. The generals rejoiced, eagerly reporting to Wang Chong. He felt a sense of hidden satisfaction. He believed these men would now follow him unwaveringly. But where's Wang Ying? Wang Chong asked. The generals shook their heads. Wang Chong's expression remained unchanged. Without locating Wang Ying, he could not secure cooperation from Nanzhao. Without external support, the Wang family could not withstand the pressure from the Tang dynasty. Pursue, Wang Chong commanded. The generals responded in unison, united in purpose. Wang Chong, uneasy, personally led the chase. Report. 10 miles ahead, we have spotted Shueguan's troops. And I have seen over 300 captives being escorted, along with a carriage. A scout knelt before Wang Chong, delivering the news. Advance at full speed, Wang Chong ordered. 1,000 men split from the main force to accelerate. They soon caught up with Shueguan's troops. As soldiers noticed the pursuers, they swiftly killed several of the captives. Wang Chong, mounted on his steed, observed clearly, his expression darkening. Those captives must be soldiers of the Wang family. Kill them, Wang Chong bellowed. The 1,000 cavalry surged forward. The escorting soldiers, sensing danger, hastened their flight. Though furious, Wang Chong refrained from ordering a chase. Killing those minor soldiers was a waste of time. Wang Chong dismounted before the carriage. Is my aunt within? He inquired. Wang Ying held a higher status than he in their clan. He hoped to rely on her when she married into Nanzhao. The carriage opened just a crack, revealing a charming face. Wang Chong quickly lowered his head. The rules of the great families were numerous, and Wang Ying was not someone he could gaze upon freely. Despite commanding an army of 200,000, without his family, he was nothing. Wang Ying lifted the carriage curtain. Fortunately, you are here. I will write to the clan to report, she said. Wang Chong's expression brightened, commanding his soldiers to release the clan soldiers. The released soldiers expressed no gratitude, instead picking up the Tang sabers discarded in the chaos and gathering up their scattered clothing. Wang Chong did not intervene. Such trivial matters were not worth the trouble. The 300 men regrouped and flanked the carriage as they returned to the city. The generals watched from a distance, secretly admiring the might of the great clan and its soldiers. Inside the carriage, Cheng Chumo reclined, while Wang Ying sat beside him. Feeling awkward in her inexperience with such matters, she was also burdened with concern for her family. Will His Majesty spare the other branches of my family? Wang Ying asked. Yes, Cheng Chumo replied. The main branch of the Wang family has 10,000 members. They cannot all be executed. We only need to eliminate those who are disloyal. Wang Ying's face lit up with joy, a sense of pride swelling within her. With a single declaration, she could save many in her family, proving her own worth. In the palace, no one was unaware of Cheng Chumo's ruthless reputation. He was known to kill without hesitation. Wang Ying also recalled other incidents, such as when she was captured and Cheng Chumo had brazenly groped her. He was quite the lecher. Thank you, Your Majesty, Wang Ying said. Cheng Chumo remained silent, pondering how best to deal with Wang Chong. He now had the opportunity to execute Wang Chong, yet he was reluctant. He wished to observe the situation with the generals. Were they all truly doomed? Replacing all the generals of 200,000 troops was no small matter. Cheng Chumo also lacked suitable replacements. Your Majesty, they will send me to Nanzhao. We can execute the king of Nanzhao, Wang Ying suggested, reaching out to massage Cheng Chumo's leg. Her skills were commendable. Execute the king of Nanzhao? Cheng Chumo mused, finding the idea appealing. Massage my shoulders, he instructed. Oh, Wang Ying responded, assisting Cheng Chumo into a sitting position and gently working on his shoulders. Very well, let us proceed with the decapitation operation, Cheng Chumo declared. Wang Ying felt a surge of delight within her. The acceptance of one's opinion is indeed a matter worthy of joy. I will heed Your Majesty's words. Wang Ying spoke softly. Cheng Chumo smiled faintly, remarking on the distinct grace of a lady from a noble family. As the procession entered the city, Wang Chong expressed his desire for Wang Ying to reside in the government office. Wang Ying did not refuse, stating, it is sufficient for the carriage to stop at the government office. I am not quite accustomed to its environment. Wang Chong glanced at the large carriage, recognizing it as a special model from Fufeng County, well appointed though not excessively luxurious. My nephew understands, he replied. The carriage halted in the back garden, where the special soldiers masquerading as clan guards began to distribute weapons, which they had hidden there. The captain of the special forces approached the carriage, inquiring, my lord, shall we act tonight? Cheng Chumo replied, there is no rush. Find a place to rest. The special soldiers dispersed accordingly. Surely there are members of your Wang family here. Do you recognize anyone? Cheng Chumo asked. Wang Ying pondered for a moment before responding. Yes, I shall make arrangements. A special soldier approached, and after a brief exchange of words, he nodded and departed. Upon returning, he was accompanied by a young man who bowed to the carriage. I have met my great-grandmother, he said. Ah, your elder brother informed me that his grandson is stationed here. How are you faring? Wang Ying inquired. This young man is a centurion, he replied. Wang Ying nodded, saying, you may return now. As the young man exited the rear garden, Wang Chong called him over. What did you discuss? He asked. The young man, not daring to conceal the truth, relayed the conversation verbatim. Wang Chong chuckled upon hearing it. So that is the case. Your abilities deserve greater recognition than merely being a centurion. From this moment forward, you shall be promoted to a 1,000-man commander and accompany me henceforth. The young man expressed his gratitude. Thank you, uncle. Wang Chong waved dismissively. No need for thanks. We are kin and ought to support one another. He then instructed the young man to depart. Watching the young man leave, Wang Chong mused to himself about the need to expedite sending him to the Nanzhao kingdom, as Cheng Chumo would surely return to mobilize troops, and time was of the essence. 3 days later, Wang Chong arrived at the carriage in the back garden. "Aunt, the time is ripe. Shall we set forth for the Nanzhao kingdom?" he proposed. "Very well," Wang Ying replied. Wang Chong felt a surge of joy, not anticipating such smooth progress. "However, I have not been feeling well lately. Perhaps we should delay a few more days," Wang Ying added. Wang Chong, feeling helpless, had thought the plan would proceed seamlessly but now faced an unforeseen delay. Inside the carriage, Wang Ying remarked, "The more he rushes us, the less we shall hurry. He will be compelled to personally escort us to the Nanzhao kingdom, providing us an opportunity to eliminate him along the way." Cheng Chumo affirmed that once Wang Chong left the city, he would be able to act undetected. "Summon your grandson," he instructed. Wang Ying's face flushed. Such was the nature of familial hierarchy, where some children were born into the grandfather's generation. "Someone, go fetch Xiaoan," she commanded. A special soldier complied. And soon Wang Yin arrived at the carriage. "You must study diligently, do you understand?" Wang Ying advised. Wang Yin, brimming with excitement, responded, "Thank you, grandmother, for your promotion. I shall certainly strive to do my best. Henceforth, you shall remain by my side," Wang Ying instructed. Wang Yin hesitated, wondering if staying with his aunt held prospects for him. Feeling unable to refuse, he inwardly lamented, "Will I still be a 1,000-man commander beside my aunt?" "Thank you, grandmother," he said. Wang Ying, speechless, thought how this child failed to grasp the situation. Being by her side was infinitely better than being with Wang Chong. What is Wang Chong? After all, she pondered, glancing at Cheng Chumo and thinking, "Foolish boy, so many would wish to be near him but find no opportunity. Let us return and prepare," Wang Ying declared, not allowing Wang Yin a chance to speak. With a heavy sigh, Wang Yin departed. Wang Ying dared not look at Cheng Chumo, lowering her head to busy herself with the bedding. "Do you wish to cultivate him?" Cheng Chumo inquired. Wang Ying felt unable to respond, having acted on her own. "Your Majesty, I beseech your forgiveness. I am aware of my transgressions," she murmured. "No matter, as long as this boy is sensible. I shall not make things difficult for him," Cheng Chumo assured her. Wang Ying felt a quiet relief. She genuinely wished to protect Wang Yin, as he was her brother's grandson. The Wang family was destined for a significant purge, and her lineage would not escape unscathed, especially since they had agreed to marry her off to the Nanzhao kingdom. Her identity as an imperial consort would bind her for life, and many within her clan would not survive the ramifications of marrying her to another. Even if Cheng Chumo were to disregard Wu Zetian, she would not. Wu Zetian's methods were far more terrifying, as she commanded death with far-reaching implications. A day later, Wang Chong approached the carriage once more. "Aunt, we should set out," he insisted, his tone noticeably altered. "I am unwell. Let us postpone for a few days," Wang Ying replied flatly. Wang Chong, undeterred, said, "Aunt, this concerns the very survival of the Wang family. I hope you will depart soon." "Humph, I refuse to go," Wang Ying retorted, her voice tinged with irritation. Wang Yin sensed the rising tension and quickly pulled Wang Chong aside. "Uncle, do not be hasty. My aunt has been startled by her recent capture. She fears being captured again on the road," he explained. Wang Chong's heart stirred with understanding. Returning to the carriage, he reassured, "I am willing to accompany you, aunt. You need not worry." "Very well," Wang Ying replied succinctly. Wang Chong chuckled inwardly, realizing how he had overlooked this possibility. "I shall prepare at once. We shall depart shortly," he declared. Wang Ying remained silent, tacitly agreeing. Wang Chong returned to the government office to prepare, bringing along 2,000 elite soldiers. He turned to Wang Yin, saying, "Xiaoan, you shall lead these 2,000 men. This is an opportunity for you to gain experience. You must persevere." Wang Chong felt pleased with Wang Yin, knowing that without his prompting, the departure might have been indefinitely delayed. Wang Yin, brimming with excitement, bowed deeply. "Thank you, uncle, for your promotion. I am truly grateful." Wang Chong felt a sense of quiet pride. Having seemingly grasped Wang Yin's heart, the team prepared to set out. Inside the carriage, Cheng Chumo rested his head on his hands. "Haha, Wang Chong, I have underestimated you," he remarked. He had anticipated some difficulties, yet the process had unfolded with surprising ease. "We will act in 3 days, Cheng Chumo declared. Wang Ying wore a complex expression. Wang Chong was doomed. 3 days later, under the cover of night, Wang Ying instructed, "Bring Wang Chong here." Wang Yin soon approached the carriage. "Aunt, what are your orders?" he asked. The carriage door swung open, and Cheng Chumo descended. Wang Chong stood frozen, momentarily at a loss for words. "Why you?" he stammered. Wang Ying followed Cheng Chumo out. Cheng Chumo smiled slightly, while Wang Chong's eyes widened in disbelief, wanting to scream. Suddenly, a special forces soldier struck Wang Chong in the neck with a punch. Blood spilled from Wang Chong's mouth as he looked at Cheng Chumo in terror, while Wang Yin stood paralyzed, confused by the unfolding events, glancing at Wang Ying. Without a hint of emotion, she positioned herself beside Cheng Chumo, exuding an air of authority. "Do not worry," Cheng Chumo assured him. The soldier swiftly drew his blade and executed Wang Chong. The general, who commanded an army of 200,000, fell without uttering a word. Cheng Chumo turned his gaze to Wang Yin. "I am Cheng Chumo," he proclaimed, introducing himself directly. Wang Yin's body weakened as he stared blankly at Cheng Chumo. Cheng Chumo addressed Wang Ying. The army must remain disciplined. You must instruct Wang Yin on what to do. With that, he returned to the carriage. Wang Ying turned to Wang and get up. Xiao and Wang Chang's rebellion is treasonous. He deserves his fate. If you wish to survive, you must heed His Majesty's words. Understand? Wang Yin, regaining his composure, looked at Wang Ying with a bitter smile. Grandmother, why didn't you tell me sooner? He replied. Wang Ying shot him a glare, dismissing his complaints. Just do as you are told. If you dare to question me, I will have your father deal with you. She glared at him again, making Wang Yin shudder in fear. He hurriedly complied. Chapter 397. The disparity between two nations. Wang Chang's demise was eerily quiet. The soldiers remained oblivious to the fact that their commander had met his end in confusion, still believing they were escorting Wang Ying to the Nanzhao kingdom. Inside the carriage, Cheng Chumo remarked, these 2,000 men will perish. This was part of his plan. To achieve success, sacrifices were essential. These 2,000 men were fiercely loyal to Wang Chang, and Cheng Chumo bore no emotional burden regarding their deaths. Treason must be punished with death, he declared. Wang Ying merely acknowledged this with a soft sound, unperturbed by the thought of death, for they were not relatives. His Majesty Wang Yin is quite decent, she noted. Wishing to spare him without reservation, Cheng Chumo remained silent. Wang Yin was inconsequential. The convoy arrived at the border city of the Nanzhao kingdom. Cheng Chumo remained in the carriage, unmoving. Surely, there were portraits of him in the Nanzhao kingdom. As the emperor, his visage was hardly a secret. We are of the Wang family. This is our passage document, Wang Yin stated, having adapted to his current identity. Wang Ying had informed him of the identities of those within the carriage. Wang Yin had been restless with excitement through the night. Wait. The city commander seemed to sense something, stepping out to speak directly to Wang Yin. It must be said that the Wang family held significant influence in the Nanzhao kingdom. The city commander glanced at the passage document and then at the military carriage. Is she truly Wang Ying inside? He inquired. Wang Yin nodded. Would you like to see her, General? He asked with a smile that belied his true feelings. The commander, knowing the consequences of approaching the future queen, hastily shook his head, eager to avoid any offense. Wang Yin felt a swell of pride, grateful for his grandmother's influence. He produced a banknote from his pocket. Take this for tea, he said. The commander's heart soared at the sight of the $100 bill. In the hands of the Tang nobility, it was a trivial sum. Yet in the Nanzhao kingdom, it could signify great wealth. Only the affluent could afford paper currency, and this particular note could be exchanged for 150 coins. The currency circulated among the Nanzhao nobility. Everyone knew the Tang's paper currency was valuable, yet trade between the Tang and Nanzhao was non-existent, leaving them longing for what they could not have. Thank you. Please come inside, the commander said, being exceedingly polite. Wang Yin felt a rush of satisfaction, raising his chin slightly and producing another banknote. Take this for expenses, he declared with an air of arrogance, embodying the lifestyle of a scion. The commander bowed and nodded in agreement. In the capital city, 100 miles away, the border city of the Tang was vastly different from that of the Nanzhao kingdom. Even the border cities of Lingnan were superior in comparison. The city lord's residence featured low walls. It was Wang Ying's first time disembarking from the carriage. Eager to experience the local customs, stepping onto the muddy ground, she felt like crying. After a few steps, she retreated to the carriage to remove her shoes. Her face filled with disdain. Why is there no flooring? How can one walk here? She lamented. Cheng Chumo turned slightly away, unwilling to gaze upon her, his thoughts silent. Wang Ying felt quite aggrieved by this. Your Majesty, do you dislike me like this? She whimpered. I just cannot adapt. Will you please turn around? She pleaded. She was perceptive enough to sense Cheng Chumo's reasons for avoiding her gaze. Cheng Chumo turned back, realizing the truth in an instant. It was not fair to chastise Wang Ying for her sensitivity. It was akin to someone from the modern era suddenly finding themselves in a rural setting of the 1980s. Not only children, but even adults would struggle to accept such a reality. I understand you. Do not cry, he assured her. Wang Ying, obediently, wiped away her tears and replaced her frown with a smile. Is this acceptable, Your Majesty? She asked. Cheng Chumo nodded. This is indeed the demeanor of a noble woman. Though perhaps a bit spoiled, he mused, recognizing that few noble women were truly spoiled. Someone, find a patch of grass, he commanded. The special forces complied, guiding the carriage to a grassy area. Cheng Chumo instructed the soldiers to remain vigilant before dismounting. Wang Ying followed suit. As they walked on the grass, which had not been tended to, their shoes quickly became damp. After walking a short distance, Wang Ying's skirt became soaked. With a pained expression, she looked at Cheng Chumo. Your Majesty, shall we return? Please? She asked. Cheng Chumo wished to continue, relishing the fresh air. Reluctantly, Wang Ying gritted her teeth and followed. After several hundred meters, she stumbled and sat down on the grass, rubbing her foot. It hurts, she complained. Cheng Chumo approached and crouched down to examine the injury. Indeed, it was swollen. I shall carry you, Cheng Chumo declared. A glimmer of excitement flashed in Wang Ying's eyes, though Cheng Chumo feigned ignorance. He crouched down, allowing Wang Ying to rest upon his back as they continued on their journey. Ahead, a grove of towering trees loomed, laden with coconuts. Cheng Chumo raised his firearm, and after a few shots rang out, several coconuts fell to the ground. He gathered the coconuts and carried Wang Ying back to the carriage. Inside the carriage, Wang Ying gazed at the coconuts, reminiscing about the delightful taste of coconut water she had once enjoyed. Cheng Chumo unsheathed his dagger and began to prepare the coconuts. After pouring the coconut water into a bowl and taking a sip, he offered it to Wang Ying, who cradled the bowl in her hands and savored the refreshing drink. After a day's rest, the group set off again. The special forces had sold many goods, and the weather here was similar to that of Lingnan, with an abundance of snakes, insects, and vermin. The path was treacherous and muddy. It will take another fortnight to reach the capital of Nanzhao. Wang An informed from outside the carriage. Wang Ying lay drowsily beside Cheng Chumo, finding the journey arduous yet manageable with him by her side. If the path is difficult, we should proceed slowly, she suggested, genuinely reluctant to venture to Nanzhao, yet feeling powerless to resist. Your Majesty, can I refrain from going? Wang Ying asked. Why not? Cheng Chumo replied. Wang Ying bit her lip, concerned about the stigma that might follow her. Whether she wed the king of Nanzhao or not, her reputation would be tarnished. I don't know how to express this, she admitted. I understand your concerns. Since you have come from the palace, I must take responsibility for you. You may go, Cheng Chumo assured her. A surge of joy filled Wang Ying's heart. This was precisely what she desired. Without Cheng Chumo, she felt like a drifting weed. Had he not abdicated, the Wang family would have never dared to consider marrying her off here. Thank you, Your Majesty, she said, inching closer to him. Are you bored? Your Majesty? Wang Ying asked, her cheeks flushed. She was uncertain of Cheng Chumo's feelings, but she herself felt incredibly bored. The fog is getting worse, a soldier outside remarked. Take the antidote and safeguard the master, another soldier added. Cheng Chumo rose to open the curtains, peering through the glass at the fog outside, which appeared gray and white. Do not exit the carriage, Your Majesty. The mist carries a slight toxicity, cautioned the soldiers. Wang An had already arranged for a camp to be set up, prepared to deal with the fog. Cheng Chumo closed the curtains. It is quite dangerous here, Wang Ying warned. It is nothing out of the ordinary, Cheng Chumo replied, suggesting they enjoy some beef jerky. Your Majesty, do not go out. I have some delicious food, Wang Ying chimed in, retrieving a copper pot and several cans from the cabinet. Look, Your Majesty, she said. Cheng Chumo admired her foresight. I was worried that once we arrived, I might not have anything to eat, Wang Ying explained. Unlike Princess Chizuan, she was always cautious, fearful that Cheng Chumo might not want her. Chapter 398. Why not handle it? The last time Cheng Chumo had enjoyed hot pot was in Gansu. Truth be told, he longed for a taste of something good. He set up a small table, and Wang Ying placed the copper pot on it, arranging some charcoal underneath. After preparing the canned food, they enjoyed a delightful meal together as light rain began to fall outside, creating an ambience just right. Wang Ying produced a flask of wine, pouring a cup for Cheng Chumo. Your Majesty, try this wine. I brewed it myself, she said. In this era, brewing alcohol was an essential skill, a means to preserve items that could not last long. Commonly referred to as fermentation, there was a vast array of beverages, including apple wine and grape wine. Were modern individuals indeed more intelligent than their ancient counterparts? After a few cups, Cheng Chumo felt a pleasant buzz and turned to Wang Ying. When you took me away, I was at home brewing wine. It's been many years. Was it good? Wang Ying replied, her cheeks flushing. Perhaps this was the nature of fate. I wish health and happiness to all who read this. Your efforts will surely bear fruit. Keep pushing forward. May you return victorious, still young at heart. Cheng Chumo gazed intently at Wang Ying, a sense of guilt washing over him. He had altered the course of this woman's life. Had he not taken her, she would have led a different existence, undoubtedly marrying into a prominent family due to her standing. Why must she tread so cautiously now? It is I who have harmed you, Cheng Chumo lamented. Wang Ying, blushing from the wine, looked at him earnestly. You have not wronged me. Rather, I should thank you. Since childhood, I have wished to marry a hero. When I heard of your exploits at Changbai Mountain, I spent several sleepless nights wishing to ask the family head to betroth me to you, though I lacked the courage. Fate plays cruel tricks. The day you came to claim me, I thought it was for me, only to find you had given me to Li Shimin. I hated you then. I was just 16, but I no longer harbor resentment. I have matured, realizing my earlier feelings were naive. You stood in opposition to the aristocracy. How could my family possibly allow me to marry you? Tears blurred her vision, yet she continued to gaze at Cheng Chumo. These past days had been the happiest of her life, always by the side of her hero, treading carefully so as not to upset him. It was not fear of being cast away, rather, she feared leaving him. After we registered, I was overjoyed, thinking you would come to my palace. I waited for 5 years, feeling exhausted, Wang Ying confessed. Cheng Chumo was overwhelmed with guilt, wishing he could strike himself. Why had he aided Li Shimin in taking her? He realized the wisdom in the ancient saying, think thrice before acting. Do not blame yourself. This is all fate, Wang Ying consoled, stubbornly wiping her tears. Cheng Chumo's heart trembled, and he raised his cup. I, Cheng Chumo, shall provide you with a home. Wang Ying looked at him, her gaze somewhat unfocused. Outside, the rain intensified, fighting off drowsiness. Wang Ying tidied the table before collapsing onto her bedding. I am so happy now, living alongside my hero, she declared joyfully. The special forces in the tent could faintly hear her words. Cheng Chumo lay beside her, wrapping her in his embrace. Very well, let us live together from now on, he replied. Wang Ying nestled against Cheng Chumo, her eyes closed, her lips brushing against his. In the morning, they awoke to the sound of rain still falling outside. Wang Ying remained nestled in Cheng Chumo's arms. How wonderful it is that the rain continues to fall, she said, playing with a strand of his white hair. Resolve the matter swiftly and return, for there remains much to attend to in Gansu, Cheng Chimo remarked. Wang Ying refrained from further comment. Fully aware that the situation here was far from easy to navigate, it was bound to be quite troublesome. Although she remained detached from such affairs within the Wang family, she was not entirely ignorant. The Nanzhao kingdom appeared to be an independent nation, yet it was not so. The troops found themselves stranded here due to the torrential rain in Lingnan's border city. Upon receiving Cheng Chimo's command, Shui Guan entered the city. Inside the walls, the general dared not impede without Wang Chang's leadership. You possess great audacity, Shui Guan declared. The generals averted their gaze from him. In that moment, Shui Guan's authority in Lingnan was unmistakably manifested. You have brought shame upon Lingnan, he continued. At that moment, a soldier reported, outside the city, 30,000 cavalry have appeared. Shui Guan frowned, taken aback by the sudden emergence of such a vast force. Come, let us investigate, he commanded. The military officers complied, their hearts secretly relieved, sensing that Shui Guan had no intention of punishing them. Indeed, he had no such plans. The law does not penalize the multitude. To reprimand the many would necessitate the dissolution of a 200,000-strong army, a course of action he could not afford for the greater good. The best strategy was to shift the blame onto Wang Chang. The group gathered before Cheng Chimo, gazing at the 30,000 cavalry in the distance. Upon observing the soldiers' attire, Shui Guan's eyes widened in shock, and the generals wore expressions of terror. Are those 30,000 special forces? One military officer stammered. No one answered, for the army had already approached the city gates. Wang Xuanzi rode forth alone to the forefront. I am Commander Wang Xuanzi. The Supreme Emperor is present, he proclaimed. Hearing Wang Xuanzi's name, Shui Guan felt a wave of relief wash over him. He was one of their own. Order the soldiers to open the city gates, he instructed, descending the city tower to greet him. Upon meeting Wang Xuanzi, Shui Guan clasped his fists. I have seen Commander Wang. The Supreme Emperor is not in the border city, Shui Guan said. Wang Xuanzi furrowed his brow, seemingly in disbelief. Han Tu approached on horseback, and upon seeing him, Wang Xuanzi smiled. Han Tu was indeed a trustworthy ally. Han Tu conveyed the situation to Wang Xuanzi, who frowned deeply. This course of action is far too perilous. I shall support the Lord, Wang Xuanzi stated. What if we disguise ourselves as soldiers of the Wang family and proceed? Shui Guan suggested. Wang Xuanzi nodded, acknowledging it as a sound plan. The special forces raised the flag emblazoned with the character for Wang. I shall depart at once. Farewell, Wang Xuanzi declared, and the army pursued Cheng Chimo. Watching the 30,000 soldiers recede into the distance, Shui Guan felt a pang of envy. How splendid it would be to command such an army, he mused. Do not dwell on such thoughts. This force is specially trained by the Lord, and you are not worthy to command them, Han Tu remarked. He did not follow, for his duty was to protect the princess and consort Chao. Indeed, do you even consider your own capabilities? A young attendant chimed in. Shui Guan's expression darkened as he regarded the young attendant, whose disdainful attitude further soured his mood. The attendant met his gaze with indifference. What use are the generals in the city if they do not take action? What purpose do they serve? Shui Guan pondered. Half a year has passed, and they have accomplished nothing. Surely any army from the Tang dynasty would surpass them. At that moment, Shui Guan remained focused on the larger picture. A military force devoid of combat effectiveness was a waste of resources. This 200,000-strong army is useless, Han Tu commented. Shui Guan could only smile wryly. Feeling provoked by the young attendant's words, yet utterly disarmed by Han Tu's critique. What do you suggest we do, Han? Shui Guan queried. The military camp is not a marketplace. We do not need those duplicitous individuals. Execute them, Han Tu asserted. The young attendant gazed at Han Tu with admiration. Recognizing that this was a true general, while Shui Guan faltered, realizing he was ill-suited for leadership and better suited for managing railways. Without generals, who would lead the troops? Shui Guan countered. Without butcher Zhang, one cannot feast on pork. Do as you see fit, for the Lord has no intention of employing these 200,000. Han Tu stated, convinced that Cheng Chimo would not utilize the army. With Wang Xuanzi arriving with special forces, the 200,000 were merely ornamental. Shui Guan gritted his teeth. Summon all the generals for an assembly, he commanded. Han Tu nodded discreetly. Though Shui Guan was not a qualified general, he was obedient. Soon, hundreds of generals gathered. Kill, Shui Guan ordered. The soldiers he commanded unleashed arrows, striking down many generals. A few, with rage in their eyes, charged at Shui Guan. Han Tu swiftly drew his sword, dispatching them with ease. Thank you, Shui Guan said, his expression impassive. Han Tu said nothing, taking his leave with the young attendant. Yet more generals emerged, rushing towards Shui Guan, intent on eliminating him. Had they known it would come to this, they would have preferred to align with Wang Chang, as that would have ensured their survival. Shui Guan, you shall die? A general shouted as they lunged forward, their faces twisted in cruel smiles. Just because I, Shui Guan, do not relish killing does not mean I am incapable of it, he replied coldly, drawing a soft sword from his belt. In mere moments, the approaching generals lay lifeless on the ground, their eyes wide open in death. All generals were exterminated, and Shui Guan took command of the 200,000 troops, initiating a competition among the entire army. Han Tu nodded in approval from afar. Shui Guan was right to do this, as those who remained unaddressed would eventually become a burden. Selecting individuals from the ranks would significantly enhance the morale of the troops. Han Tu contemplated the Lord's current situation. Master, should we not follow? With Shueguan here, there will be no issues, the young attendant suggested. That is not the point. The issue is not whether there will be problems, but whether we can emerge unscathed, Han Tu replied. What if something goes awry while he is absent? How shall we resolve it then? We must ensure that the rear remains secure. Inform Shueguan to seal the borders. Not a single word must escape from the Tang dynasty to the Nanzhao kingdom, Han Tu instructed. The young attendant acknowledged and hurried off to find Shueguan. At that moment, Shueguan was in good spirits. Rest assured, I have already sealed the borders for 10 miles. No one shall sneak past, he assured. Return and inform General Han to be at ease. The young attendant agreed. With the borders secured, the Wang family learned of the demise of their clan members and dispatched individuals to Lingnan for inquiries. However, upon their arrival, they were seized. The Wang family could only confront Shueguan in the court. During the morning court session, Wu Zetian returned to the court after a long absence. The ministers began discussions on how to manage the aftermath of the disaster. Wu Zetian remained uninvolved, sitting as an observer on the dragon throne, sipping tea. The arguments grew vigorous. Shueguan disobeyed orders and acted independently. I believe he should face severe punishment, declared a Wang family official. Only Su Jingzong opposed this sentiment. As the verdict loomed, Wu Zetian spoke. The Wang family is quite intriguing. What schemes do you harbor? You are fully aware that His Majesty is in Lingnan, yet you dare to impeach the Grand Governor of Lingnan. Do you think I am oblivious to your machinations? She commanded the dismissal of 37 officials bearing the Wang surname and ordered Fang Yai to surround the Wang residence in Taiyuan, stating that all matters would be decided upon the emperor's return. Wu Zetian continued, prompting the ministers to exchange glances, while the officials from the Wang family appeared visibly alarmed. Wu Zetian, uninterested in further discourse, noted that her sisters awaited news from Cheng Chumo. Should this matter be mishandled, his return home would be permanently barred. Dismissed, she declared. In the kingdom of Nanzhao, Wang Xuanzi had already informed Cheng Chumo, trailing him by 10 miles. Inside the carriage, Wang Ying questioned, will His Majesty suspect anything? Cheng Chumo remained silent, surprised by Wang Xuanzi's swift arrival. The kingdom of Nanzhao had begun to harbor suspicions. Cheng Chumo remarked, they are not fools. With so many crossing the border, they must discern the situation. Wang Ying inquired, should we proceed? Cheng Chumo insisted, let us advance. I am curious to see how confident they truly are. He surmised correctly that upon learning of the turmoil within the Wang family, Nanzhao would not take it to heart, and thus ordered all checkpoints to permit passage, including for Wang Xuanzi's 30,000 elite troops. They did not perceive these 30,000 soldiers from Lingnan as a threat, underestimating the peril of advancing alone. Days later, Wang Xuanzi met with Cheng Chumo. If my conjectures are correct, they must indeed be planning to ensnare us. Wang Xuanzi chuckled, and Cheng Chumo shared in his mirth, feeling a weight lifted from his heart. They feared that should the Nanzhao forces realize that these 30,000 were elite soldiers under Wang Xuanzi's command, they would never allow them to cross the border. Their ignorance was understandable. These special forces had long been in the shadows, often traversing distant lands, and few within the homeland were aware of their existence. Once we reach the foot of their stronghold, our decapitation mission will be deemed a success, Wang Xuanzi declared, to which Cheng Chumo agreed. Surprise is our ally. 30,000 elite troops are more than capable of executing the operation. As they approached the city, Cheng Chumo observed, once we cross this city, we will reach the Wang stronghold, and then we can resolve this. Just then, an elite soldier approached, delivering a letter to Cheng Chumo. Upon reading, Cheng Chumo's expression darkened. Wang Ying had ventured alone to the Wang stronghold in Nanzhao to ensure the success of their mission. On the road, a carriage sped forth, with Wang Ying driving and tears streaming down her face. She had her reasons for this course of action, all in the name of family. 3 days later, she arrived at the Wang stronghold. In the grand hall, she tearfully recounted to the king of Nanzhao, my people have been captured. I escaped amidst the chaos, and they remain unaware of my identity. The ministers exchanged skeptical glances, with a few standing against her, asserting their allegiance to the Wang family. The king of Nanzhao found himself in a dilemma, uncertain of how to proceed. Who commands the enemy forces? Wang Ying responded. Wang Chong has taken the emperor hostage. The commander is named Shui. The king of Nanzhao erupted in laughter. So it is Shueguan. It seems fate spared him last time. How audacious of him to return. The king came to trust Wang Ying's words, or rather, the credibility of the Wang family from Taiyuan. You have endured much. Go rest now, he instructed. Thank you, Your Majesty. I implore you to rescue those who escorted me. They are loyal to the Wang family, Wang Ying pleaded. The king nodded in agreement. Later, he asked, who shall meet with Shueguan? After deliberation, Nanzhao dispatched a general. 10 miles outside the Wang stronghold, the general surveyed 2,000 Tang soldiers with a disdainful smirk. 300 captives were bound at the forefront. Cheng Chumo planned to employ the same tactics as before, anticipating that the Nanzhao general would attempt to rescue him and his compatriots. The general did not disappoint, displaying scorn at the notion of such a small force opposing his 50,000 troops. Wang Xuanzi remained at a distance, not following. Advance and rescue those 300. There will be ample rewards for those who succeed, the Nanzhao general declared. Upon his arrival, the Wang family had already approached him. promising a hefty sum of 100,000 for the rescue. Such a windfall was irresistible. The general had every incentive to act earnestly, knowing that this would elevate his status within Nanzhao. 1,000 cavalry charged forth like wolves, leaving Wang Yin momentarily stunned and at a loss. The Nanzhao general, observing from afar, scoffed. Is this the caliber of the Tang warriors? No wonder they have yet to advance to the border. In all likelihood, Cheng Chimo and his companions would be successfully rescued. The Nanzhao general, riding closer, inquired, "What is your relation to the Wang family?" With an amiable tone, he pressed for details. "I am a distant relative, known as Wang Koha," Cheng Chimo replied, a pseudonym of his own devising. Upon hearing the term distant relative, the Nanzhao general felt a surge of excitement. Realizing why the Wang family would expend such resources to seek his aid, he must be of significant standing and wealth. "It has been quite arduous to save you. Consider this," the general remarked, clearly seeking compensation. "I shall remember this favor. Upon my return to Taiyuan, I will ensure you receive 1,000,000, Cheng Chimo assured him. The Nanzhao general's eyes widened, nearly bowing in gratitude. 1,000,000? The Wang family of Taiyuan truly possesses great wealth. He dismounted, extending a welcoming gesture. "Young Master Wang, please, come inside." The general's demeanor shifted dramatically. 1,000,000 was worth the effort. He did not entertain the notion that Cheng Chimo might renege on his promise, for the Wang family's reputation in Nanzhao was stellar. He recalled that the Wang family had even loaned Nanzhao 1,000,000,000 in the past. Upon entering the city, the general escorted Cheng Chimo to the Wang residence before proceeding to the royal palace. Having eliminated 2,000 men, his achievements would earn him substantial rewards. Cheng Chimo was led to the rear courtyard, where Wang Ying, her eyes red and swollen, stood at the entrance awaiting him. He opened his arms, and she leaped into his embrace, sobbing uncontrollably. Cheng Chimo gently patted her back, while the surrounding Wang family members stood in shock, unable to comprehend the scene. "It is finished. Wang Ying has taken a lover. This cannot continue. It is perilous," Cheng Chimo cautioned. Wang Ying nodded emphatically. "Aunt you all." A member of the Wang family spoke. Cheng Chimo released Wang Ying and turned to face him. "What position do you hold here?" Cheng Chimo inquired. "Who do you think you are?" The Wang family member retorted angrily, questioning Cheng Chimo. A special forces soldier drew his weapon, pressing it against the man's throat. "Say another word and see what happens," the soldier warned. Cheng Chimo chuckled, signaling the soldier to lower his weapon. "I am Cheng Chimo," he introduced himself. The Wang family member was taken aback, and the surrounding Wang family members were equally astonished. "He is Cheng Chimo, the emperor?" The man who had spoken earlier weakened and collapsed to the ground. It was over. Their true identities were exposed. Cheng Chimo looked at Wang Ying. "I am not familiar with them," Wang Ying replied. She intended to protect others, not these individuals, for those who could come here had no good intentions. Their hearts were dark. Cheng Chimo turned to the special forces soldier. "Clean out the Wang residence. Leave no one behind," he commanded. The soldier complied. Cheng Chimo and Wang Ying proceeded to the living room to dine. Wang Ying picked up her chopsticks, preparing to eat. Cheng Chimo furrowed his brow slightly. "Slow down," he cautioned. With that, he retrieved a silver needle and inserted it into a dish. Upon removal, the needle showed no reaction. Cheng Chimo carried a plate of food outside, locating an ant nest, and poured the food beside a rat burrow. The two squatted down to observe. Soon, ants began to feast, and some of them collapsed after eating. "A tranquilizing drug," Cheng Chimo remarked. Wang Ying's expression soured. She had not anticipated their audacity to use such drugs. "Capture one alive and interrogate him," Cheng Chimo instructed the soldiers at the entrance. The soldier complied, swiftly bringing over the unconscious Wang family member. After reviving him, Cheng Chimo began his interrogation. "Do you wish to live or die?" he asked. The man fell to his knees, repeatedly bowing his head, staining the tiles with blood. "I wish to live. I wish to live," he pleaded. Cheng Chimo began to inquire about their motives for administering the drug. The man answered without hesitation. The king of Nanzhao intended to bed Wang Ying tonight, and the Wang family had cooperated in drugging her. After hearing this, Wang Ying felt vindicated in her decision not to protect them. "Your Majesty, they bullied me," she said from the side. Cheng Chimo rose, and Wang Ying followed suit. "But I promised not to kill him," Cheng Chimo stated. Wang Ying's eyes glimmered with a thought. "What if we make him eat all that food?" she suggested. Cheng Chimo glanced at the vast array of dishes in the living room. "Let him eat," he ordered. The man hurried into the room and began to devour the food on the table. Cheng Chimo shook his head, looking at the special forces soldier. "Let him have the plate as well," he added. The soldier complied. Cheng Chimo took Wang Ying away, and they returned to their room. Wang Ying retrieved her precious can from the cupboard, showcasing it with a shake. "I have something delicious," she exclaimed, opening the can. Just as she was about to sit down and eat with Cheng Chimo, he wrapped his arms around her waist, gently pulling her into his embrace. "Let us try it before nightfall," he proposed. Wang Ying's eyes sparkled with joy, her body melting into Cheng Chimo's arms. He lifted her towards the bed, and the sound echoed loudly. Cheng Chimo was taken aback by her volume. Afterward, he understood. A crimson stain appeared on the sheets. "You," Cheng Chimo said, unable to believe it. "You sent all 7 of us sisters to the palace. Even the gods wouldn't be able to handle that," Wang Ying retorted, her face flushed, giving him a fierce glare. "Humph, and you blame me for being loud," Wang Ying added, relieved that she was not too young, or else she might have been exhausted. Cheng Chumo tightened his embrace around her. It was said that the women of the imperial palace were pitiable, a notion Cheng Chumo had not comprehended before. He once thought those women, free from worry about food and clothing, had no reason to be pitied. Now, he realized how many women lived and died without ever having seen the emperor. Wang Ying grabbed the blanket, covering both of them once more. Nightfall arrived. The special forces had thoroughly cleansed the Wang family residence, leaving behind a faint scent of blood. Cheng Chumo exited the room. Wang Ying lay on the bed, motionless. Your Majesty, please return soon, she murmured. Cheng Chumo quickened his pace. This woman is truly clingy, he thought. Chapter 401. The cleansing. The king of Nanzhao arrived at the Wang residence, followed by hundreds of followers. Is everything arranged? The king inquired. The eunuch beside him responded affirmatively. Your Majesty can rest assured. The Wang family has demands of you and dares not refuse, the eunuch assured. The king of Nanzhao's face displayed excitement. Wang Ying, a daughter of a prestigious family, was desired by any emperor. He was about to achieve that. Wang Ying was still Li Shimin's woman, which made him even more exhilarated. Many were unaware of what Li Yuan did, yet they certainly knew Li Shimin was the emperor of the Tang dynasty. Upon entering the Wang residence, the king of Nanzhao frowned. Why is there no one to greet us? He remarked. The Wang family is quite arrogant. An official cautioned, Your Majesty, this is not the time to tidy up. We still have much to gain from the Wang family. Little did anyone expect he had brought ministers along to investigate the circumstances of the Wang family's members. Each was preoccupied with their own affairs. The king of Nanzhao chuckled to himself as he led everyone deeper into the Wang residence. A faint scent of blood wafted through the air. The king of Nanzhao, hands clasped behind his back, observed the special forces stationed nearby. What is happening here? He inquired. The soldiers ignored him, sensing something amiss. The king of Nanzhao drew a handgun from his waist, aiming it at the special forces. This gun was a gift from the Wang family, which he cherished. Before he could pull the trigger, a loud bang rang out, and a bullet pierced through his hand. The king of Nanzhao screamed, clutching his injured hand. As guards rushed forward while the eunuch hurried to assess the king's injury, a series of dull thuds echoed as rows of guards fell, each struck in the forehead by bullets. Only 3 remained alive. Cheng Chumo approached from a distance, hands clasped behind his back. The 3 men looked on in terror as Cheng Chumo approached them. You are the king of Nanzhao? Cheng Chumo asked, feeling somewhat disappointed at how simple it had been. Indeed, beauty is a source of calamity, he mused. How bold. Does your Wang family seek death? The eunuch shouted angrily. Cheng Chumo rubbed his ears. Such a disagreeable voice, he remarked. The special forces behind him advanced, seizing the eunuch and delivering a series of slaps. After over 30 strikes, the eunuch's face was swollen and red. His eyes wide with fear as he looked at the soldiers. A mouthful of red and white teeth fell out. Speak again, if you dare, said the special forces soldier. Cheng Chumo remained silent. Indeed, special forces were known for their cold hearts, having been beaten so badly. How could one still have the capacity for conversation? Who are you? The king of Nanzhao gritted through immense pain. Heh, you dare to covet my consort and still ask me who I am? Cheng Chumo retorted with a cold laugh. The king of Nanzhao gazed earnestly at Cheng Chumo, recalling the tales told to him by the royal family, stories of beheading operations. He never imagined he would find himself in such a situation. Did you not lure the people of the Tang dynasty here? Did you not claim that a citizen of Tang was worth 20,000 copper coins? Capture another one. If you dare, Cheng Chumo challenged. The king of Nanzhao fell silent. This was indeed their doing. Other nations might have illicit trade regardless of official commerce, but Nanzhao was different. No one dared to smuggle there. They demanded ransom after capturing Tang citizens, engaging in banditry as a nation. If I have fallen into your hands, consider it my misfortune, but you shall not escape. It is impossible for you to leave the royal city alive. Your pride in the artillery of the Tang is matched by us, the king of Nanzhao declared. He was not merely trying to intimidate Cheng Chumo. He genuinely possessed a limited number, only 100 cannons. Cheng Chumo scoffed. The Tang had possessed artillery for over a decade. Such technology could not be suppressed for long. Nanzhao's possession of it was entirely normal. Whether I leave the royal city alive is of little consequence. You certainly will not survive. I suspect you've amassed quite a fortune through unscrupulous means, and I intend to claim it, Cheng Chumo stated. The king of Nanzhao forced a smile. A king cannot lose his dignity. A fine ploy to fatten the prey before the slaughter, he thought. Cheng Chumo, disinterested in further conversation, gestured to the special forces. The soldier's blade fell swiftly, and the king's head rolled away. An official nearly fainted from terror, scrambling backward. Do not kill me. Do not kill me. The official cried out. Cheng Chumo spared him. The special forces began clearing the bodies. Once the task was complete, the official was taken to the courtyard. Do you wish to live? Cheng Chumo inquired. The official nodded fervently. Cheng Chumo approached him. I require officials to govern this place as well. If you can assist me in eliminating certain individuals, I believe I can ensure not only your survival, but a better life than you have now, he said. Initially filled with fear, the official soon felt a surge of joy at the prospect of survival. I am willing, he replied. Cheng Chumo patted his shoulder, and the special forces led him away. Beheadings require no instruction from Cheng Chumo. While everyone remained oblivious to the situation, the opportunity to strike was ripe. Once they realized, they would be unable to muster any resistance. This was the consequence of underestimation. No one in the royal city anticipated such a fate. From the king to the common folk, they believed that by slaying 2,000 Tang soldiers, the Tang were not as formidable as rumored, easy to defeat. Having eliminated 2,000 Tang soldiers, the citizens of the city could only express two words: jubilation. An official from a military family entered with the special forces. The general was still bewildered. Kill them, the official ordered. The special forces acted swiftly, and soon, over 100 people lay dead in pools of blood. After slaughtering one family, the official's heart grew colder. As long as it was not his own family that perished, he felt indifferent. After closing the door, he led the special forces to the next household. They did not know how many homes they had visited. Eventually, someone sensed that something was amiss. The city guards were mobilized, forcing the special forces to retreat. At this moment, Cheng Chumo had donned the king's attire. Wang Ying clung to Cheng Chumo's arm. Will we be discovered? She asked anxiously. Cheng Chumo shook his head with a smile. The city was in chaos, and soon someone would come looking for their king. As long as the official cooperated, they would smoothly enter the palace. This was Wang Ying's first experience with such excitement. Her cheeks flushed as she gazed at Cheng Chumo's profile, realizing that this was how she had been captured. Truly, boldness begets opportunity. Your Majesty, I have led the men in eliminating 30 military generals and 50 civil officials, the official reported, bowing his head. At that moment, Cheng Chumo truly felt like his master. Cheng Chumo was somewhat taken aback, thinking how efficient this fellow was. Wang Ying's mouth fell open in disbelief at the scale of the carnage accomplished in such a short time. The officials' quarters were relatively concentrated, making the distances short. The special forces could execute their tasks unnoticed. No one would suspect that a trusted confidant of the kingdom would lead the enemy to slay their own people. Many ministers yearned for the king of Nanzhao to return to the palace. The official added, make arrangements, and do not light any torches. Today, I shall be the king of Nanzhao. Cheng Chumo understood the implications from the official's glance at his attire. He thought to himself, what audacity. To oppose such a person is the misfortune of Nanzhao. Chapter 402. The cuckoo occupies the magpie's nest in truth. The real misfortune of Nanzhao was not Cheng Chumo but the official himself. Without Cheng Chumo, none of this would have been possible. Without him, Cheng Chumo could not have slain so many officials, nor could he have impersonated the king of Nanzhao. Rest assured, I will handle everything, the official assured. Cheng Chumo observed him depart, and his figure reminded him of Su Jingzong. Every emperor surrounds himself with figures like Su Jingzong. He finally understood, such individuals operate with remarkable efficiency. They can accomplish what emperors cannot, handling the dirty work and labor. The official soon made arrangements. A group of Nanzhao guards stood at the entrance of the royal residence, along with a horse-drawn carriage. Behind the guards were civil and military officials. To prevent them from recognizing Cheng Chumo, the official had deliberately arranged this. Cheng Chumo and Wang Ying exited the royal residence. The darkness obscured them. The officials could only discern Cheng Chumo's general outline and could not see his face. Conversely, they could see Wang Ying, albeit vaguely. The ministers harbored doubts about the arrangement made by the official and were dissatisfied. Upon seeing Wang Ying, their concerns dissipated. The king was unharmed. Witnessing such intimacy, the ministers felt a sense of discontent. After the deaths of over 100, the king still had the presence of mind to seek a woman, though she hailed from a prominent Tang family. They wondered if it was appropriate for the king to be so enamored. Let us depart for the palace, the official proclaimed. Cheng Chumo and Wang Ying boarded the carriage, which then set off towards the palace. Within the palace, the ministers wished to discuss matters with Cheng Chumo. However, how could he possibly meet with them? He sent Situ to negotiate on his behalf. Cheng Chumo paid little mind to how Situ conducted the discussions, instead lounging in bed with Wang Ying. It must be said that Wang Ying was indeed affectionate. Cheng Chumo had never encountered someone quite like her before. He found it insatiable, as she called out for mercy, only to desire more soon after. Cheng Chumo was drenched in sweat. My lord, let us try something different, Wang Ying suggested. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened. What other places do you have? Wang Ying blushed, the back. All right, Cheng Chumo replied, and the two prepared to experiment. The king's ministers spoke of traitors within the court. The minister of works stood at the door, while Wang Ying, visibly displeased, had already prepared for an interruption. Cheng Chumo sighed and patted Wang Ying. You rest for now. I will return shortly. With a sense of grievance, Wang Ying lay down, and Cheng Chumo donned his clothes and exited the palace. If there were indeed traitors, they must be investigated. The Wang family was suspected, and loyal ministers were in peril. The minister of works is certainly skilled in such matters, Cheng Chumo remarked. What will happen when the king convenes tomorrow? The minister of works asked. We shall say I am unwell, Cheng Chumo replied, and the minister of works departed. In a state of urgency, Cheng Chumo burst into the room. Morning had arrived, and the ministers refused to leave without seeing the king. Too many had perished the previous day. This matter required the king's personal intervention. The minister of works blocked their entrance, knowing that if Cheng Chumo was exposed, he would not fare well either. The king is unwell. You cannot enter, he declared. The ministers were unconvinced. What is happening? Wang Ying emerged, her walk somewhat awkward, her hips swaying. The ministers watched with envy, noting her enduring charm. No wonder the king had not convened with such a woman. It would be remarkable if he could rise. Having seen the queen, the minister of works bowed, prompting the ministers to follow suit. Wang Ying handed a decree to the minister of works. appointing her as the Queen of Nanzhao and commanding the Minister of Works to negotiate with the Tang army. After reading it aloud, the ministers were puzzled. "We oppose this," one minister protested. "What nonsense is this about surrendering to the Tang army?" "Do not argue," Wang Ying interjected. "His Majesty is deeply saddened by the loss of many loyal ministers and generals, and now lies motionless in bed." The ministers quickly understood her point. Only a tired ox knows no worse field. Naturally, they must exert themselves to protect such a beauty. The Tang army, having ventured deep, would lack logistical support. If someone facilitated their surrender, they would undoubtedly capitulate. "This is the way of kings," Wang Ying continued. The ministers began to murmur among themselves. "The king is right. The Tang army is vulnerable. If it were not for our covert operations, we would not have suffered such losses. Let us encircle them. I believe we can persuade them to surrender." The Minister of Works noted the growing agreement among the ministers. This is indeed a sound strategy. Besides, those officials who have died are of no concern to us. Their demise opens many positions. What is paramount now is identifying the traitor. Without one, it is inconceivable that the Wang family could orchestrate such a massacre. We must prevent such occurrences in the future. Wang Ying urged. "You are to make arrangements. The king will not appear until the traitor is found, and I trust you understand why." The ministers acknowledged her, realizing their fear of the king mirrored their own. "We obey your command," they replied. As everyone departed, Wang Ying sighed in relief, grateful for her cleverness in navigating the situation. Returning to the inner palace, Cheng Chimo was fishing by the water's edge. He smiled upon seeing Wang Ying return. "Have you resolved it?" he inquired. Wang Ying nodded, sitting closely beside him. Reminiscent of a young girl in her first love, quite clingy. Cheng Chimo caught a fish, and Wang Ying cheered. Cheng Chimo, without words, felt exasperated at having someone like her by his side while fishing. In the Tang army camp, Wang Xuanzi had received Cheng Chimo's orders. Has His Majesty now become their king? Wang Xuanzi asked a special forces soldier, who nodded in affirmation. Wang Xuanzi rejoiced, realizing they could coordinate efforts. "The leader has instructed you to surrender, and you will become the elite force of the Nanzhao kingdom," the soldier stated. Wang Xuanzi comprehended Cheng Chimo's intent. So long as 30,000 special forces entered the city, the royal city would be declared conquered. "Return to His Majesty and inform him that I know what to do," Wang Xuanzi commanded, and the soldier complied. That same day, the Minister of Works arrived at the military camp. His first words were, "In wars between nations, envoys are not harmed." He was quite cautious of his own life, having recently slain 2,000 Tang soldiers and could not afford to be taken down himself. Wang Xuanzi scrutinized the Minister of Works, fully aware of the situation, as the special forces had informed him of everything. "You dare to come looking for me after killing 2,000 of my men? Do you think me easy to bully?" Wang Xuanzi retorted. The Minister of Works, uncertain of Wang Xuanzi's cooperation, refrained from speaking further. However, the other ministers were unabashedly arrogant. "You Tang soldiers are vulnerable. I advise you to surrender to avoid dying far from home. If you surrender, you will become part of our Nanzhao nation, and we shall treat you well," one minister proclaimed. Wang Xuanzi found their bravado amusing. They thought themselves formidable after vanquishing 2,000 of the Wang family soldiers. "Humph, there is no point in further discussion. We shall meet on the battlefield," Wang Xuanzi declared. "Let us conduct this play to its fullest. General, please calm your anger. We have matters to discuss. You may propose any conditions for your allegiance to the Nanzhao kingdom," the Minister of Works suggested. Wang Xuanzi hesitated. "First, provide me with 10,000 stones of grain," he replied. Chapter 403, A Master? The officials of the Nanzhao kingdom were intrigued. Grain? This indicates that the Tang army is currently facing a shortage. If we wait a bit longer, they are sure to surrender. The Minister of Works was confident Wang Xuanzi had already been in contact with his leader, otherwise, he would not be so cooperative. He felt assured. "Rest assured, grain will not be an issue. As long as you agree to surrender to the Nanzhao kingdom, we shall supply as much as you require," the Minister of Works assured them. The officials laughed, knowing the Minister of Works was typically sycophantic but reliable in action. Wang Xuanzi's expression shifted as he quickly masked his surprise, yet it did not escape the officials' notice. The officials felt a renewed sense of certainty. This matter would surely succeed. The situation in the royal city was dire. The military leaders had suffered severe casualties, making conflict unwise. If the Tang army could surrender, it would be ideal. "No negotiations," Wang Xuanzi declared. The Minister of Works departed with the other ministers, chatting amiably as they left. They knew this was the last defiance of the Tang general. Within half a month, they would surely run out of provisions. The Minister of Works chuckled, realizing they had discerned the Tang army's desperation. No wonder the king had instructed them to persuade the Tang to surrender. His foresight was remarkable. Upon returning to the royal city, the Minister of Works visited the palace. The ministers arrived at a grand estate. "We seek an audience with Mr. Liu," one minister announced. The steward led the ministers to the back courtyard, where they encountered an elderly man named Lu Chuanji, hailing from Fufeng County. His face was adorned with numerous red dots, each resembling the marks left by needles. In Fufeng County, dealing with human traffickers involved binding them in the streets and pricking them with needles. Lu Chuanji had an exceptionally thick skin. He had not perished. When Li Ji ascended to the throne and granted amnesty, he fled to the Nanzhao kingdom. The foreign monk can indeed recite scriptures. Upon encountering Lu Chuanji, the officials bowed respectfully. "We have met the esteemed sir," they chorused. Lu Chuanji cast a nonchalant glance at the officials, feeling a sense of pride. The foreign monk can indeed recite scriptures. While he had struggled in the Tang dynasty, here he was revered as an esteemed guest. There is no need for alarm. The most formidable force in the Tang is its special forces, the Fufeng Jinbei army, now concealed in obscurity, Lu Chuanji proclaimed. The officials listened intently. Although the special forces were no secret, none had ever laid eyes on them, having only heard tales devoid of pressure. Hehe, do you appear unconvinced? I assure you. If the special forces were to strike, none of you would survive, Lu Chuanji asserted, possessing profound knowledge of these warriors. Having been bound in Fufeng County for several years, his body was riddled with needle marks, and he had encountered Cheng Chumo and the special forces more than once. The officials' expressions turned grave, their demeanor serious. They believed Lu Chuanji's words. This was no ordinary individual. Surviving thousands of needle pricks was no small feat. What shall we do now? An official inquired. Lu Chuanji feigned contemplation as a maidservant brought tea. After sipping the tea, he continued, what you must do now is defend, rather than think of offense. Your plans for surrender are commendable. Only the Tang army can defeat the Tang army. His insight was astute. Indeed, only the Tang army could vanquish itself. And without the Battle of Xiangjisai, the Tang would not have faced decline, a pivotal moment in history. Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Lu, an official remarked. Lu Chuanji smiled slightly, his expression inscrutable. Let us cease discussing opportunities for wealth, he said. The idea of capturing Tang individuals for ransom was his suggestion. The Nanzhao kingdom had indeed exchanged considerable wealth, yet it had also introduced many unstable factors. The common folk of the Tang gritted their teeth at the mere mention of the Nanzhao kingdom. The Wang family restrained the Tang from taking action against Nanzhao. Now that the plans had shifted, the Tang was poised to strike directly at Nanzhao. Lu Chuanji believed there was someone resolutely intent on annihilating the Nanzhao kingdom. And that person's status was not insignificant. Such a figure was beyond the reach of Nanzhao, and certainly beyond the capabilities of a mere Lu Chuanji. He had gained substantial knowledge of the Tang during his lengthy stay in Fufeng County. I have heard that the Wang family has sent a clan maiden. I wonder if I might have the honor of meeting her, Lu Chuanji inquired. The officials displayed expressions of discomfort. Observing their discontent, Lu Chuanji remarked, very well. Do not bother coming again. His tone was neither cold nor warm. The officials exchanged glances, gritted their teeth, and concluded that meeting her was still feasible. This matter required discussion with the Seacon. Only the Seacon could gain an audience with the king, and they believed the king would certainly meet with Mr. Lu. Such talent must be acknowledged. Do not worry, Mr. Lu. We will handle this matter, one official assured. Lu Chuanji nodded with a smile. After the officials departed, he could no longer contain his excitement. In his lifetime, he might finally meet a woman of noble birth, should he marry her. It would indeed be a testament to his ancestors' virtue. In the palace, Cheng Chumo was listening to the Seacon's report. Whether to act or not, I will cooperate with you, Cheng Chumo stated. The Seacon's face brightened at the praise from Cheng Chumo. Rest assured, my lord, I will ensure that the tasks you assigned are executed flawlessly. The Seacon promised. Cheng Chumo remained silent. After the Seacon departed, officials approached him. Mr. Lu wishes to meet the Wang clan maiden, one official announced. Hearing Lu Chuanji's name, the Seacon's heart skipped a beat. That man was not to be trifled with and possessed extensive knowledge. This matter may prove difficult. The king would surely disapprove. The official added. The Seacon furrowed his brow, contemplating whether to conceal this from the king. If nothing goes awry, it will be fine. However, should something occur, the first to perish will be me. There are many who harbor intentions toward the noble maidens. If it were the previous king, this matter could have been dealt with without consequence. The new ruler, however, is not to be underestimated. I shall speak with him. You may return, the Seacon instructed. The officials departed, confident that the Seacon would manage the situation adeptly. Their attitude toward Lu Chuanji was uniformly cautious. The Seacon returned to Cheng Chumo, laying out the situation. He dared not conceal anything from Cheng Chumo regarding Wang Ying's meetings with others. While other officials were oblivious, he was acutely aware of the current circumstances. He had no escape route. Aligning with Cheng Chumo offered him a chance at survival. Should the truth come to light, he would face certain death. Cheng Chumo frowned. I do not know who Lu Chuanji is. I have never heard of him, he remarked, glancing at Wang Ying, who wore a similarly puzzled expression, equally unaware of Lu Chuanji's identity. I do not know this Lu Chuanji. I shall not go, Wang Ying declared. There were certain matters that should not be pursued, particularly those that could incite jealousy in men. The Seacon lowered his head, refraining from interjecting. He thought to himself how fortunate it was that he had broached this matter with his master. If he had directly approached Wang Ying, she would certainly have reported him, and the consequences would be dire. Then let it be, Cheng Chumo concluded. Tell me more about this Lu Chuanji. Cheng Chumo continued. The Seacon began to describe Lu Chuanji's characteristics. Upon hearing the description, Cheng Chumo chuckled. I see. A face full of needle marks. Such a person is quite notorious in the Tang. A product of Fufeng County. This is still a relatively mild crime. Those guilty of heinous acts of trafficking would have their hands and feet severed. I never imagined a trafficker could attain such a status here. I truly wish to meet him, Cheng Chumo remarked. Wang Ying, noticing Cheng Chumo's curiosity, felt intrigued as well. Chapter 404. Losing patience bring him to the palace. Cheng Chumo instructed. The Sikong complied and departed. Cheng Chumo's gaze turned icy. This Lu Chuanji had the audacity to suggest capturing Tang individuals for ransom. Such a person must be eliminated. Dear husband, what shall we have for dinner tonight? Wang Ying inquired. He felt a flicker of interest in Lu Chuanji, but it paled in comparison to the importance of dining. Fishing, Cheng Chumo replied. Wang Ying's face lit up with eagerness. She anticipated that her husband would surely catch fish and they would not go hungry. Perhaps we should have meat instead, Wang Ying suggested, not wishing to endure hunger. Cheng Chumo felt a touch of embarrassment. He knew his fishing skills were lacking, and without luck, he would catch nothing. Then let us have meat, Cheng Chumo decided. Wang Ying beamed with joy, relieved that she would not have to go to bed on an empty stomach. The couple busied themselves with roasting lamb. Meanwhile, the Sikong and the officials arrived at Lu Chuanji's residence, their expressions fraught with uncertainty, unsure of how to convey their message. It is ill-advised for the king to act this way. Does he not recall Zhuge Liang's 3 visits to the thatched cottage? Why not emulate that? One official suggested. The Sikong inwardly cursed the official for his foolishness. 3 visits to the thatched cottage have nothing to do with the Nanzhao kingdom. What should we do? Sikong Dao. He is at a loss. The officials paced back and forth in Lu Chuanji's residence, uncertain of their next steps. Perhaps you should inform the king that Mr. Lu is unwell and unable to visit the palace, suggested one official. Sikong ignored him, thinking anyone who suggested such nonsense was foolish. If they wanted to say it, they could say it themselves. The official also felt that such an excuse would not suffice. The king is no fool. To attempt to deceive him would be courting disaster. Reluctantly, the group steeled themselves and entered Lu Chuanji's residence. The king has requested your presence at the palace, Mr. Lu, one official announced. Lu Chuanji frowned, directing his gaze at the speaker. I would prefer not to go out. As for matters concerning the royal family, let it be. You may all attend to your business. Lu Chuanji replied. He had no intention of visiting the palace to see Wang Ying. If it were to meet the king, he might consider it. But facing Wang Ying felt like a death wish. Every man is a jealous creature. If this situation were mishandled, he would find it impossible to maintain his standing in Nanzhao. He could fool these ministers, but he dared not deceive the king. The officials were in a quandary. The king had expressed a desire to see Lu Chuanji, and if Lu refused, how would the king perceive them? Their wrath would surely be directed at them. Mr. Lu, please consider carefully. If you refuse to go, we will bear the blame for your lack of cooperation. How will the king regard you from now on? Sikong insisted. The officials nodded in agreement with Sikong's words, understanding that the king would not punish them for such matters. Lu Chuanji was different. If the king could not tolerate him, he would face dire consequences. The ministers wished to protect him, but it was impossible. Though he could teach them how to generate wealth, Lu Chuanji's heart trembled, revealing his true nature. After pretending to be a sage for so long, he almost forgot his own identity. Sikong was right. Even if he were genuinely a sage, he would merely be a sage in the face of royal authority. True sages do not dare to disregard the power of kings, let alone a mere pretender like him. Very well, I shall go to the palace to meet the king and the queen, Lu Chuanji declared. Rising, he set aside any thoughts he had regarding the royal family. Let us proceed, he said, following the officials to the palace. Other officials remained outside. The two entered the garden, where Cheng Chumo and Wang Ying were grilling meat. Upon seeing Cheng Chumo, Lu Chuanji's eyes widened in terror. Why you? Lu stammered, recognizing Cheng Chumo, the very person who had him bound and tortured in the streets. Cheng Chumo regarded Lu Chuanji with a piercing gaze. Lu Chuanji felt a shiver run through him, his knees buckling as he knelt before Cheng. Cheng rose to assess Lu Chuanji. So, you are the one who spoke of capturing Tang people for ransom? Cheng queried. Lu Chuanji dared not speak, his heart chilled, knowing that death awaited him. Sikong stood frozen, expecting his master to exhibit strength and composure in the palace, but was instead met with this pitiful display. The commoner merely wished to survive. I was only trying to stay alive, Lu Chuanji defended, knowing he could not admit to anything at this moment. Cheng Chumo scoffed. Is that so? Surviving is not that difficult, is it? You came from Fufeng County, did you not? Speak, who set you free? Cheng demanded. Lu Chuanji, unable to hide the truth, revealed the circumstances. Cheng understood. Lu Chuanji had not fled but had been granted amnesty during Li Ji's reign. What a useless fool. All he does is issue amnesties, Cheng remarked coldly, cursing Li Ji internally. Li Ji had not only brought ruin upon himself, but had also ensnared Cheng Chumo and Empress Changsun in his web. The two had long since buried their grievances. Yet Li Ji remained an unyielding thorn in their sides. Years had passed, but they had not moved on. Bring them in, Cheng commanded. A few special forces soldiers approached. Kill them, Cheng ordered again. The soldiers seized Sikong, who nearly perished from fright. It wasn't me. I'm loyal, my dedication is evident. Sikong cried in terror. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened. Wang Ying laughed. Cheng glared at the kneeling Lu Chuanji, and the soldiers released Sikong, dragging Lu Chuanji away. Sikong collapsed to the ground. Go inform Wang Xuanzi to surrender, Cheng instructed. Sikong hurriedly complied, wiping the sweat from his brow as he exited the garden. The officials gathered, eager to inquire about the situation. Sikong said nothing, mounting his horse and riding out of the city. Wang Xuanzi? Sikong murmured, suddenly wide-eyed. Wang Xuanzi, the divine general? A chill ran down his spine. After a while, he managed a bitter smile. No wonder he dared to venture alone. It turned out to be the nation-destroying general, Wang Xuanzi. Upon arriving at the Tang army's camp, Xikong felt a sense of relief upon meeting Wang Xuanzi. The master has commanded your surrender, Xikong stated. Wang Xuanzi nodded, ordering the army to raise the white flag. Let us enter the city, he declared. Xikong smiled wryly, knowing that the inevitable had arrived. The final calm would soon dissipate. His assumptions were correct. Cheng Chumo had lost patience with the situation, daring to capture Tang people for ransom. He would not rest until he had dealt with those who believed Tang people were easy prey. The army entered the city. No one thought much of it, nor did anyone suspect Xikong would betray them. After Wang Xuanzi entered the city, it was like a wolf among sheep, swiftly taking control of the city gates. Xikong, armed with clarity, began to exact vengeance. The entire royal city ran red with blood. For 3 full days, the citizens remained oblivious to the chaos. The officials had been slaughtered. Inside the palace, Cheng Chumo stood with his hands clasped behind his back, while the officials bowed their heads. Is there anyone else who wishes to die? Cheng asked. The officials dared not speak. The military generals had been wiped out, and those stubborn civil officials had met the same fate. At this juncture, silence was essential for survival. From this day forth, the nation of Nanzhao is no more. This land now belongs to the Tang. Those who capture Tang people for ransom will have their entire clan exterminated. Can you manage this? Cheng proclaimed. The officials responded in unison, understanding that failure would mean their demise. Some officials felt tears welling, recalling how joyous they had been in their previous pursuits of capturing Tang people, now reduced to such a pitiful state. Chapter 405, Empress Changxuan's death. Shuiguan would send someone to take charge here, and in the future, all matters would adhere to Tang's regulations. The treatment would remain the same. Cheng Chumo struck a sharp slap, then offered a sweet promise. The officials looked up at Chang, astonished by his words. Everything would follow the Tang's rules. Henceforth, they would not face restrictions on trade. They need not fear the Tang anymore. From this day forward, they were Tang people, with the same rights as the Tang. They could visit Chang'an and witness its splendor. Your Majesty is wise, the officials chorused. The living would enjoy their fortunes, while the dead would be entirely cleansed. Cheng Chumo exited the grand hall. The ministers began to discuss excitedly. There are good people everywhere. They were the good people. And those who captured Tang people for ransom were all dead. His Majesty is truly decisive, one official remarked. Xikong Shin nodded with a profound sense of understanding. It was truly exhilarating. He had anticipated that Wang Xuanzi would engage in some maneuvering upon entering the city, yet he commenced his lethal actions immediately, quietly eliminating his foes. Their intentions were of no concern to Cheng Chumo, who departed once these matters were settled. 3 months later, Cheng Chumo returned to Gansu. The Arab Empire had not reached this far, having been halted on the grasslands by the Fortunate General, with battles exchanged on both sides. The Tang dynasty did not extend support to the Fortunate General, but instead distributed aid across various regions. The Fortunate General commanded a formidable force of 200,000, evenly matched against another 200,000, presenting no significant challenge. Cheng Chumo brought Wang Ying to their villa in Gansu. Princess Qizuan wore a displeased expression, as her husband had returned with another alluring woman. Greetings, sister, Wang Ying hastily interjected, knowing she must first appease the princess to avoid any potential repercussions. Princess Qizuan led Wang Ying away. Cheng Chumo glanced at Han Tu, who stood at the doorway, hesitating. What is it? Cheng Chumo inquired, sensing an ominous foreboding. Han Tu's eyes reddened. It was the first time Cheng Chumo had seen him in such a state. The Empress Dowager Zhongsun, Han Tu replied. Cheng Chumo's mind spun with confusion. Where? He asked. At Westlake, Han Tu responded. Cheng Chumo mounted his horse and raced towards the station. Upon arrival, Han Tu hurried to locate the person in charge, directly arranging a special line. 10 days later, Cheng Chumo arrived at Westlake, rowing to a hidden paradise, where he met his master, Sun Simiao. How is Guanyin S made? Cheng Chumo asked, his voice trembling. Sun Simiao shook his head. Cheng Chumo hurried to the wooden hut where Empress Dowager Zhongsun lay, her face pale and weary upon the bed. Hearing footsteps, she slightly opened her eyes. You've come. She managed a weak smile. I have arrived, Cheng Chumo replied, sitting beside her bed. Their exchange was simple. After a brief moment, they exchanged glances. When I die? Bury me here. It is quite pleasant, the Empress Dowager said, her tone tinged with melancholy. Cheng Chumo felt tears welling up, opening his mouth, but unable to speak. The Empress Dowager closed her eyes, a single tear slipping from the corner. The greatest sorrow for a woman is not knowing where she will rest after death. She was aware that Li Shimin had reserved a place for her, yet she did not wish to be interred there. Nor could she be laid to rest in the Chung family grave. Some may argue that once dead, one should not care where they are buried. Yet it matters. What does one pursue in life? Fame and fortune? No, it is the continuity of life, the lineage. After death, descendants will bring their offspring to the gravesite, saying, this is my mother, this is your grandmother. This is the essence of life. It may seem devoid of meaning, yet it embodies the very significance of existence. How many have been misguided, dismissing traditional beliefs as superstitions? Is honoring ancestors merely superstition? Some deserve to perish, cloaking their ignorance in the guise of progress. Without the struggles of our forebears, what are you? Do you truly believe you deserve to dictate terms on this land? The empire was established by our ancestors. You are merely guardians of their legacy. In the end, it is a lamentable truth, possessing culture without succession. Is that not tragic? Others cherish it as a treasure while you cast it aside. Is this not akin to digging one's own grave? Cheng Chumo longed to grasp the Empress Dowager's hand, but she withdrew, unable to contain her tears. He rose, gazing at her. From the very beginning in Fufeng County, we have shared a profound connection. I understand your thoughts, he said. The Empress Dowager softly acknowledged him, her eyes remaining closed. After a lengthy silence, she finally closed her eyes forever. Cheng Chumo sat at the doorway, crushing a few dry leaves and rolling them in paper, sitting there to smoke. The taste was both bitter and spicy. Li Lizzie approached and sat beside him, coughing from the smoke. Let us lay Mother to rest in the Imperial Mausoleum, she suggested. Cheng Chumo nodded. Ultimately, it fell short of completeness. How many moments in life are truly fulfilling? You take care of the arrangements, he replied. Li Lizzie nodded, glancing towards the interior. The special forces carried the mahogany coffin to the entrance. Cheng Chumo discarded the cigarette and extinguished it with his foot, returning to the wooden hut. He could no longer hold back his tears as he gazed at the Empress Dowager. Li Lizzie had already wept dry. The bond between the Empress Dowager and Cheng Chumo had been a mistake. Such events should never have transpired. But who is to blame? Is Cheng Chumo at fault? Li Shimin sought to eliminate him. Should he not resist? Can the blame be placed solely on Li Shimin? One cannot understand the burdens of an emperor without bearing the crown. If Cheng Chumo were not eliminated, the emperor would find no peace. Ultimately, it is Cheng Chumo's exceptional abilities and prowess that threatened the Li family's reign. In ancient times, Zhou Yu devised brilliant strategies to secure peace, but lost both his beloved and his soldiers. In the Tang dynasty, Li Shimin orchestrated against Cheng Chumo, losing both his beloved and his empire. There is no right or wrong, only success and failure. Had Zhou Yu succeeded, he would have been celebrated as a great talent. If Li Shimin triumphed, he would be praised for his cunning. Who pays heed to the vanquished? Success is eternally lauded and exalted. Let Mother depart in peace, Li Lizzie urged. Cheng Chumo wiped his tears, feeling utterly drained, staring blankly as the Empress Dowager was placed in the coffin. The special forces lifted the coffin. Cheng Chumo reflected on his fate with the Empress Dowager, beginning with her being carried in a palanquin. That year in Fufeng County, she had taught him much. Since then, he had grown step by step. Without the Empress Dowager, there would be no Cheng Chumo today. Without her protection, he would never have had the opportunity to develop Fufeng County. The Empress Dowager was the keeper of the tiger. Cheng Chumo was that tiger. This tiger extended her life for many years, liberating her from her confines. But this very tiger had slain her son. The bond formed by carrying her in a palanquin now culminated in the sorrow of bearing her coffin. I shall accompany you on your final journey, Cheng Chumo said in a hoarse voice. He hurried to catch up with the special forces, who made way for him as he lifted a corner of the coffin. This scene bore a striking resemblance to when the Empress Dowager returned to the capital. Zizi watched from a distance, not approaching. That year, she had been in the Empress Dowager's womb, and Cheng Chumo had also lifted her. Mother deserved this life. She was loved by two emperors, Li Lixian remarked. Born a Cheng, buried in a Li grave. Mother is paving the way for us, Li Lizzie added. The three women silently watched, refraining from further conversation. Indeed, the Empress Dowager was making way for them. If she were interred in the Cheng family grave, what would become of Li Lizzie and the others? Chapter 406. The world remains unchanged. Let us accompany Mother on her final journey, Li Lizzie suggested. The two followed her as they departed. A month later, at the Imperial Mausoleum, Cheng Chumo sat before the coffins, with Li Shimin's on his left and Empress Changsuan's on his right. In the end, you have triumphed, he remarked, pouring wine over Li Shimin's coffin. If you knew it would come to this, you would surely awaken with a smile. At that moment, Cheng Chumo's hair had turned as white as snow. A profound sorrow weighed upon his heart, yet he had no outlet for his lament. After spending an extended period within the royal tomb, he emerged, gazing at the colossal stone that lay upon the ground, lost in thought. Li Shimin had once wished to perish alongside Cheng Chumo, but never relinquished this stone. After Empress Changsun was interred, the stone was placed there by the descendants of Chibi Helu. Cheng Chumo looked at them and asked, "How fare you here? Should you need anything, do not hesitate to seek assistance in Fufeng County." The crowd remained silent, bowing before departing. Climbing onto his steed, Cheng Chumo rode away, gradually finding tranquility in his heart. He had believed he would be unable to accept the parting of life and death, yet on this day, he felt an unexpected sense of liberation. Galloping away, he reached the desolate outskirts and dismounted, beginning to run. He lost track of time, eventually collapsing onto the grass, gazing at the sky and basking in the warm sunlight. Certain actions were simply unattainable, certain emotions were not to be traversed. What if we had not been together? I called you Mother, and you called me Cheng Chumo, merely a fleeting thought. I never aspired to usurp the Li family's throne. My ambitions lay solely in becoming a great general. Alas, fate often defies our desires. Why must I be coerced? Cheng Chumo rambled as he lay on the grass. From a distance, the three daughters of Li watched him from their carriage. Li Lixian recounted Cheng Chumo's words to her sisters, interpreting his lips. Li Lizzie bit her lip, torn over the matter of the prince consort and her mother. Many times, she contemplated abandoning the prince consort, yet she found it difficult to part ways. Sister, this is perhaps the best outcome. With our mother still alive, our family hierarchy is indeed chaotic, said Zizi. Her words were harsh for Empress Changsun, but they represented the most favorable resolution. It was the best conclusion for Empress Changsun and for them as well. Their future interactions with Cheng Chumo would be more natural, devoid of any awkwardness. Li Lizzie smiled bitterly, aware that this was the most just resolution, but she felt it was unfair to their mother. Each person is an independent entity. Their father had grown weary of their mother, forcing her to leave. Shortly after her departure, he announced to the world that Empress Changsun had succumbed to a grave illness, leaving her with no escape. The decision to reserve a place for Empress Changsun in the royal tomb was understood by any man. What is lost is eternally cherished. Ultimately, it was Empress Changsun who bore the weight of it all. Let us go and see. There is much to attend to in Gansu, Li Lixian suggested. Li Lizzie nodded in agreement. The carriage approached Cheng Chumo, who sat up and greeted the three daughters as they disembarked. You have arrived. Let us return, he said. They nodded gently, assisting him as they walked to the carriage. Once inside, Cheng Chumo gazed longingly towards the royal tomb, lost in contemplation. The daughters refrained from interrupting him. Look, each glance diminishes the next. Only when he could no longer see did he recline, shutting his eyes and drifting into slumber. A solitary tear glistened at the corner of his eye, unnoticed by the three daughters. In his dreams, Cheng Chumo reminisced about the past, recalling his journey with Empress Changsun to Tubo. Yet, thoughts alone do not allow one to dwell in the past. Even if one were to return, new regrets would inevitably arise. As a time traveler, he had believed that his memories from a previous life would enable him to evade many regrets. But new sorrows followed in quick succession. During his schooling, had he truly applied himself? Would he still part ways with his first love after diligent study? It could only be described as regret. After a long journey, Cheng Chumo returned to Gansu. The villa stood adorned with white lanterns. As women in white garments awaited his arrival, he dismounted and smiled at them before entering the villa, which remained unchanged. The women did not crowd him, understanding that he was likely in a somber mood and needed to process his feelings alone. A person like Cheng Chumo could only find solace within himself. No external words would penetrate his heart. He entered the room once occupied by Empress Changsun and opened the wardrobe, finding her garments still imbued with her essence. Cheng Chumo felt a pang in his heart. Oh, Guanyin maid, I am becoming increasingly unworthy, unable to restrain my tears, he mused, as if awaiting a response from the garments. Beneath the clothes lay a box, which he picked up and sat on the bed to open. Inside was a letter. He unfolded it and read, By the time you see this letter, I shall have departed. You must take good care of them. I can no longer accompany you. Leaving the palace was the happiest day of my life. It is a virtue to be content. If there is a next life, I wish to meet you first. To bear you 7 or 8 children, each calling you father. I have repaid all debts from this life, except for ours. If we owe nothing, how could we meet again? A tear stain marked the letter. See how this last letter resembles a love poem. You must take care. Some things are best left to fate. And you cannot control everything. Did you not tell me not to meddle excessively? The same applies to you. Do not forget me. Longsun Wugo. After reading, Cheng Chumo carefully placed the letter back in the box. If we owe nothing, how could we meet again? He murmured to himself as he lay back on the bed. The women prepared meals, but none ventured to summon Cheng Chumo for dinner. Wu Wushuan cried the loudest, having spent the most time with Empress Changsun. Wu, no one will guide me anymore, she lamented. Her words brought tears to all the women, for no one would teach them again. When Cheng Chumo descended the stairs, he found the women strewn across the sofas, all fast asleep, having not enjoyed a restful night in some time. He glanced at the table laden with dishes and approached, picking up chopsticks to eat. Li Lizzie, with red-rimmed eyes, joined him, taking a bowl and chopsticks to partake in the meal. One by one, the women awakened, silently moving to the dining table to eat. After the meal, they all sat in the living room, lost in thought. Do not be like this. Cheer up, Cheng Chumo urged, forcing a smile. His words, however, only prompted more tears from the women. The commander has sent a battle report from the front lines. Han Tu announced from outside. Cheng Chumo walked to the door to receive the report. The situation at the front is dire. Does the commander have a strategy? Han Tu inquired. A phrase echoed in Cheng Chumo's mind. Far ahead, far ahead. Falling behind invites punishment, be it a nation or an individual. One must strive to remain at the forefront to attain a sense of security. My heartfelt gratitude to Huawei for providing me with such reassurance, as you remain unparalleled. Chapter 407. The defeat of the Arabs. Where has Ernia gone? Cheng Chumo remarked. He had long commanded the two to take the maritime route to Arabia. Nearly a year had passed, and they ought to have arrived by now. On the sea, the two wore grim expressions. They had lost their way. Gazing at the dark waters, Erniu was on the verge of tears. He had never been here before. He came at Cheng Chumo's behest, and this was the outcome, lost. General, let us find a place to dock, a soldier suggested. Erniu also yearned to land, but the command was to attack Arabia, and now he had no clue where Arabia lay. With no other options, they could only dock. Upon reaching the shore, the locals gazed curiously at the numerous grand ships. Soon, a soldier approached to inquire. Upon learning that they belonged to the Tang fleet, the soldier's face lit up with excitement. The fleet of the Tang has finally arrived. How much cargo have you brought? He asked, his tone exceedingly courteous, as if he had encountered the god of wealth. The Tang soldiers were at a loss for words. They were not there to trade. May I inquire about the location of the Arab Empire? A Tang soldier asked. This is Iran. Arabia lies that way, replied the Iranian soldier, pointing in a direction. The Tang soldier understood and returned to report to Erniu. Erniu pulled out a land map for comparison. Iran, the terminus of the Silk Road. The people here greatly favored trading with the Tang, as it was highly profitable. Once Tang merchants arrived, they seldom ventured far again. The Iranian merchants would purchase all the goods, allowing them to continue their journey, profiting immensely from the price differences. After sketching a nautical map, Erniu set sail towards Arabia. A month later, the Marine Corps finally made landfall. Within days, they seized a significant coastal city. The Arab Empire was taken aback. The rear, once stable, had not anticipated an ambush. They dispatched troops for 3 assaults, suffering severe losses. The Marine Corps anchored itself like a nail in the rear of Arabia. The Arab Empire could only withdraw its forces from the plains to confront the Marine Corps. On the plains, General Fu gazed at the map. Report, General Fu. The enemy is retreating, a soldier announced. General Fu was elated. It seemed Erniu had finally arrived. He had been aware of Erniu's plan to ambush Arabia. Order the entire army to advance, commanded General Fu. The moment for glory has come. We must strike hard while the enemy is down. As expected, the Arab forces suffered a catastrophic defeat. Following Cheng Chumo's orders, General Fu continued the assault, leading the army into Arabian territory. The entire region fell silent. They were uncertain of the outcome. With 200,000 troops defeated at the front, the Arabs could only muster a defense. This situation had no connection to Cheng Chumo, who at that moment was not inclined to concern himself with such matters. At this time, Cheng Chumo stood on a hillside, accompanied by Li Lizzie. Time had been unkind, and Li Lizzie now bore a few strands of white hair. Have you had your fill of the view, my lord? She inquired. Cheng Chumo turned to her. His eyes filled with regret. I have burdened you these years, he said. Li Lizzie was taken aback, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I have not been wronged. I simply wish to accompany you, she replied. She had never ventured out with Cheng Chumo, remaining at home, and now that her mother had passed, she no longer wished to stay behind. Cheng Chumo nodded. The issues with the Wang family remained unresolved, and it was time to settle the score. Very well. We shall depart tomorrow, he declared. Li Lizzie cheered, twirling her skirts. Cheng Chumo watched her with a smile. Eventually, the two returned to their villa. I plan to go to Taiyuan. Who wishes to accompany me? Cheng Chumo asked. The women collectively shook their heads, granting Cheng Chumo and Li Lizzie the chance for private respite. Cheng Chumo turned to Wang Ying. Will you go? He inquired. Wang Ying shook her head. She could not go at this time, as it would impede Cheng Chumo. The Wang family's misdeeds were theirs to bear. Go ahead, my husband. I shall remain at home to learn cooking, Wang Ying said. Cheng Chumo nodded. The women began assisting Li Lizzie in packing. Sister, take some canned goods. What if there is nothing to eat? Li Lixian suggested. Li Lizzie nodded and quickly prepared. Once everything was ready, Li Lixian brought out numerous cans, handing them over. Zizi produced a large amount of beef jerky. Sister, take these as well, Zizi added. Li Lizzie accepted them, no less than 30 pounds. The women began to present their prepared items to Li Lizzie, and soon the cart was filled to the brim, leaving no room for the two to sit. Cheng Chumo was speechless. Was this truly necessary? This bounty could sustain him and Li Lizzie for 3 years. Is this not excessive? He remarked. Better to be prepared, Xiazhu said. You should join us as well, Cheng Chumo urged. Xiazhu hesitated. She had never accompanied Cheng Chumo on such outings. The women encouraged Xiazhu forward. Li Lizzie took her hand. Join us, she insisted. Xiazhu looked at Li Lizzie with gratitude and turned back to thank the other women, who smiled in response. The cart set off, this time without special forces. Upon reaching Shurcheng, the cart boarded a train. The train rumbled along. Inside the carriage, Xiazhu exclaimed, Dear husband, are we not headed to Taiyuan? It has been half a month. Why have we not arrived? Li Lizzie glanced at Cheng Chumo, who was still asleep. Cheng Chumo awoke, realizing something was amiss. Has half a month truly passed? He asked, sitting up. It should take only 3 to 5 days. How could it have taken half a month? I shall investigate the situation, he declared, rising to check other carriages. As soon as he exited his carriage, Cheng Chumo was taken aback. Not a soul was in sight among the 10 or more carriages. Only an elderly man tended the fire at the front. The old man was a mute, hearing nothing, only knowing to add coal to the furnace. Cheng Chumo asked numerous questions but received no answers. He sought to halt the train, but it had long been sabotaged. Cheng Chumo hurried back to the carriage. Something is wrong. I do not know why there are only a few of us on this train, he said gravely. The two women turned pale, rising to prepare for an emergency exit. However, at such speeds, jumping from the train would be akin to courting death. Do not be afraid. I shall find a solution, Cheng Chumo reassured them before heading towards the front. In truth, he had no plan. If he had, the train would have halted long ago. Ahead, an expanse of white loomed. The tracks ended abruptly, and the train hurtled into the sea. Cheng Chumo ran back to the carriage, returning to find the doors securely shut behind the two women. The train carriage plunged into the sea, breaking apart into sections, coinciding with the onset of a typhoon. The carriage tumbled in the waves, rendering 3 individuals unconscious. Upon regaining consciousness, they found themselves ashore. Cheng Chumo pushed open the door to reveal a golden sandy beach adorned with an array of peculiar stones and nameless grasses. He carefully carried the two women out and placed them on the sand. Where are we? Li Lizzie murmured as she slowly awakened, followed shortly by Xiaozhu, who also stirred to life. Instead of fear, the two women displayed excitement at their unfamiliar surroundings. It's so beautiful here, Li Lizzie exclaimed. Cheng Chumo, observing the carriage, marveled at the foresight of having packed ample provisions, never anticipating their necessity. He mused to himself, devoid of worry, after enduring countless trials. He had grown indifferent to his location. Chapter 408. Fury. After half a day, Cheng Chumo had erected a tent and called out for dinner. The two women, swimming in the sea, turned to him upon hearing his voice. We'll play a little longer. You can eat first, Li Lizzie replied, resuming their playful splashing. Cheng Chumo, left to dine alone, could only shake his head. Inside the tent, the two women lamented. Oh no, I've tanned. Li Lizzie cried. Xiaozhu echoed her distress, her arms sunburned and peeling, lamenting, if only we had listened to our husband. Where is he? Li Lizzie pondered. Meanwhile, Cheng Chumo was at the other end of the island, gazing at a deserted village. The silence was palpable, as though no soul inhabited the place. After a prolonged observation, he resolved to investigate. Approaching the village entrance, he encountered a large red coffin obstructing the path. Examining it closely, he noticed an enormous fish resting atop the coffin. Who are you? Leave at once, lest the sea god's wrath befall you. An elder emerged from the shadows, startling Cheng Chumo, who instinctively took a few steps back. Which country do you hail from? Cheng Chumo inquired, taking a deep breath. The elder, trembling and leaning on a cane, replied, we do not even know which country we belong to. Cheng Chumo's curiosity was piqued. What is this place called? He pressed, observing the elder's features. A realization dawned upon him. He was of Tang descent. Ryukyu, the elder answered, mentioning the numerous islands in the vicinity. Cheng Chumo recognized the location, the Ryukyu Islands. What is the significance of this coffin at the village entrance? He asked. With a heavy sigh, the elder explained, it is an offering to the sea god. Every decade, we must sacrifice young boys and girls to the river god. Cheng Chumo's expression darkened at the revelation. Young man, you must leave quickly. The river god will arrive soon, urged the elder. Cheng Chumo nodded and departed. Not far from the village, he sat beneath a tree, a cold smile gracing his lips. He was determined to uncover the identity of the river god. In the dead of night, a small boat approached the shore. Cheng Chumo, still seated beneath the tree, opened his eyes as several figures clad in black disembarked, making their way towards the village. Upon reaching the coffin, they lifted the lid to reveal two children, a boy and a girl, peacefully sleeping inside. The black-clad individuals attempted to take the children. And where do you think you're going? Cheng Chumo blocked their path. Furious at the intrusion, the assailants drew their weapons and charged at him. With a swift kick to one man's knee, he sent him sprawling in agony. Cheng Chumo seized the fallen dagger and advanced towards the remaining assailants. After a brief skirmish, several lay defeated. Cheng Chumo, uninterested in dialogue, called out, come out. All of you. The villagers slowly emerged from their homes, watching him intently. Cheng Chumo was soothing the two children, who, surprisingly, remained calm and inquisitive. Ruffling their hair, he turned to the villagers. There is no river god. This is merely a means of control over you. The villagers appeared bewildered, their expressions inciting Cheng Chumo's ire. This is ignorance. Take your children back, he insisted. No, the elder protested. To do so would offend the sea god, and we would no longer catch fish. The villagers murmured in agreement, including the parents of the children. Cheng Chumo's eyes blazed with fury, a silent rage bubbling within him. It was akin to serving leftover food to students, knowing it would harm their health yet remaining silent, all in the name of their future. What future is there when health is compromised? The foolishness and ignorance were palpable. They claim military rations can last for decades, he mused, and everyone is eager to try them. That was merely the first step. Soon, they would promote certain dishes, only to find them unpopular, leaving the students with no choice but to consume what was available. Why not serve the national banquet? Cheng Chumo thought, unwilling to engage further. Fearing he might lose his temper, he picked up the two children and departed. Some villagers contemplated intervening but were deterred by the sight of the fallen bodies. Upon returning to the tent, the two women eagerly awaited him. Whose children are these? Were they also swept here by the waves? Li Lizzie inquired as she took them into her arms. Cheng Chumo recounted the events to them, and upon hearing the tale, their faces flushed with indignation. How could people be so foolish? Li Lizzie exclaimed. Cheng Chumo offered a wry smile. Such is the plight of the uneducated. They may discern right from wrong, yet cannot distinguish truth from falsehood. What will happen to those children? He wondered. If successful, the future will be intriguing. Restaurants will close down, only to succumb to monopoly. Like oil, prices will rise at will. He chuckled at the absurdity of it all. I've seen foolishness, but never such utter foolishness. The absence of a voice is indeed tragic. Tomorrow, they will be in for a shock at the hospital, he lamented. Why do large companies engage? Because of monopoly. The future is monopolized. Some may argue that competition exists, but who truly believes that? When profit reigns supreme, who fights a losing battle? First, they seize control of schools. Then they suppress restaurants, ultimately dominating the market. And finally, they invade agriculture, purchasing produce from farmers at exorbitant prices. The prices of vegetables in the market have soared, making it unaffordable for the common people to buy greens, forcing them to resort to other less desirable options. While grains have a guaranteed minimum price, vegetables do not. This has sparked a conflict akin to a war of races. Not all wars necessitate bloodshed. Are the repercussions of an entire city relying on a single canteen for meals understood? In the event of an unforeseen circumstance, no one would fare well. With just a slight manipulation, one could introduce some legally dubious substances into the vegetables. For a brief period, there would be no immediate issues. But in 5 or 10 years, the consequences would be dire. It would be too late to lament. Some argue that the human body can metabolize these substances. Yet are they aware of the burden they impose on the system? The human body is akin to a machine. Eventually, it will falter. It is perplexing how certain individuals can support such inhumane practices openly and thrive. Is this not akin to deceiving fishermen by telling them that without tribute, they cannot fish in peace? I will take action, Chung Chimo stated. The two women nodded heavily, indicating they too would take action. At dawn, Chung Chimo rose early. 2 women stood before the tent, hastily stepping back upon seeing him emerge. They held roasted fish in their hands. Who are you? Chung Chimo inquired. We have come to deliver food for the children, one of the women replied. Chung Chimo's mood lifted considerably. Very well, please come in, he said. The 2 women tiptoed into the tent, where children were playing with 2 fairy-like figures. The women quickly knelt down before the fairies. Chapter 409. The method. Li Lizzie and Xia Zhu froze, staring at the 2 women, who were repeatedly bowing. Chung Chimo observed this scene from outside, feeling a twinge of discomfort. Why do humans treat each other this way? Li Lizzie reacted and attempted to assist the women, but despite her efforts, they refused to rise. Li Lizzie turned to Chung Chimo, who shook his head, indicating his own helplessness. Poverty can be alleviated, but ignorance must be addressed gradually. What brings you here? Xia Zhu asked, as she had more experience in such matters. The women lifted their heads. We have come to bring food for the children. One trembled. Xia Zhu smiled and glanced at the children who were eating. Join them for a meal, she instructed. Rising, she led Chung Chimo and Li Lizzie out of the tent. Outside the tent, Xia Zhu remarked, if you wish to assist them, you must become a deity in their eyes. Only then can you truly help. Chung Chimo fell silent, reluctant to deceive the people here, yet recognizing that without some semblance of deception, he could not aid them. What are you pondering? This is also a means of governance. As long as the people live well, the method is inconsequential, Li Lizzie stated. Chung Chimo nodded in agreement, and the 2 women expressed their excitement. With Xia Zhu reflecting on her journey alongside Chung Chimo from the very beginning, nearly forgetting the struggles he faced to rise to this point. Before long, the 2 women emerged with their well-fed children. Upon seeing Chung Chimo and the 2 women, they knelt again. Although Chung Chimo felt conflicted, he refrained from voicing any objections. Xia Zhu approached and helped the women to their feet, with the children following suit. Take this back to your village chief, Xia Zhu instructed, handing a couple of magnets to one of the women. The woman, not daring to delay, nodded respectfully and left, glancing back often, leaving her children behind, believing they would be safe with the fairies. After all, even the sea god would not dare offend them. In no time, all the villagers gathered outside Chung Chimo's tent. He was busy organizing the carriage and, upon seeing the crowd, decided to move it closer to the tent to use it as a room. Come help, he called. The old village chief, momentarily taken aback, did not dare refuse and led the villagers to assist. With collective effort, the carriage was moved to a flat area for placement. Chung Chimo surveyed the carriage, feeling pleased. A 24-meter carriage could comfortably house 3 people. The interior amenities were intact, and the 2 women were delighted, beginning to tidy up. Is there something you wish to discuss? Chung Chimo asked the old village chief. We seek the deity's help to save our village, he replied. Chung Chimo chuckled. Why would I save you? He countered. The old village chief glanced at the train carriage, convinced it was not a product of this world. We will offer you our devotion, he said, knowing there was little of value to present. Chung Chimo's expression darkened as he understood they were offering to provide him with young boys and girls. That won't be necessary. All I ask is your agreement to let me become the village chief, he stated. The old village chief was taken aback, and the villagers stared in disbelief. Does the deity wish to be our chief? No sacrifices required? This defies logic. Could it be that the deity sees nothing of value in our village? Seeing their reactions, Chung Chimo grasped their thoughts and, noting the crowd, was not surprised by their assumptions. I see potential in you. All of you can ascend, he declared, silently affirming that this was a benevolent lie. The villagers continued to gaze at him in confusion. Chung Chimo's expression darkened further. The village chief was the first to respond. From this day forth, you shall be our chief, he proclaimed, his face flushed with excitement. Chung Chimo sighed in relief, having feared the old man would refuse. The villagers then erupted in cheers, feeling invincible with a deity as their leader. Return to your homes. I will handle the sea god. Anyone who dares harm my villagers shall face my wrath, Chung Chimo asserted. The villagers collectively knelt, proclaiming, long live the chief. Chung Chimo laughed heartily, finding the situation amusing. Rise, prepare your weapons. When I confront the sea god, you shall accompany me, he instructed as the villagers departed. Li Lizzie and Xia Zhu had finished organizing the carriage by the time Chung Chimo entered. The 2 women were making the beds. Fortunately, we have this carriage. Look at all it contains. Tonight, we can sleep under blankets, Xia Zhu said. Li Lizzie lay on the bed, beaming with joy. This is truly comfortable. No amount of bedding on the floor compares to a proper bed. No wonder everyone enjoys accompanying the prince. It's wonderful, she remarked. Ching Chumo, however, had a different perspective. He sensed a conspiracy at play, realizing someone sought to eliminate him. Why was there not a single soul on the train? Where had everyone gone? Who possessed the power to control the train? Such feats were beyond an ordinary individual's capabilities. Who do you think is behind this? Ching Chumo inquired. The expressions of the two women shifted. The situation surrounding their outing was fraught with suspicion. It was peculiar for the train to be deserted. Who could accomplish such a feat without leaving a trace? Upon returning, I shall have Wu Mainyang investigate, Li Lizzie remarked. Ching Chumo shook his head, stating that since the deed was done, there was no fear of being discovered. There were issues at play here. Few knew of my departure. And even fewer were aware of the train I boarded. It seems that individual knows me quite well, Ching Chumo mused with a smile. He was unfazed, in fact. He found such intrigue rather enjoyable. Life like this was anything but mundane. The trio chose not to dwell on the matter, accepting their circumstances. Gradually, the individual responsible would undoubtedly reveal themselves. Ching Chumo retrieved a box filled with an assortment of weapons. The two women stared, astonished, as he produced several firearms. When did you bring so many? Li Lizzie inquired. It was surprising to see Ching Chumo with such an arsenal, given that he had shown no signs of preparation. It's all from Hantu, Ching Chumo explained. The women ceased their questioning. If Hantu had provided them, it was entirely reasonable. Hantu, unable to accompany him, would certainly consider Ching Chumo's safety. Ching Chumo withdrew a sniper rifle, inspected it, and slung it over his shoulder as he prepared to leave. You must protect yourselves, he advised, deeming it necessary to remind them. This was not Gansu after all. The two women chuckled. They were not defenseless. Li Lizzie picked up a small handgun, twirling it playfully. We often use these at home, she said. Indeed, during their idle moments in Gansu, they found amusement in handling such items. With that, Ching Chumo departed, heading to the village entrance. The coffin is being carried away, he announced. The villagers worked together to remove the coffin. Ching Chumo led them to the seaside. Upon arrival, the ocean lay tranquil, dotted with small boats, while fishing nets hung along the shore. A large fish rolled upon the surface. Ching Chumo raised his firearm, and when the fish flipped again, he fired. The resounding shot echoed, and the villagers paddled their boats to retrieve the catch. They were elated. Such a large fish was beyond their grasp and would surely ruin their nets. A true deity, striking fish from afar. Ching Chumo felt a swell of pride. There was a certain satisfaction in showcasing his prowess before the people. Do not speak of sea gods. I fear neither them nor their progenitors, Ching Chumo declared. The villagers looked at him with admiration. Our village chief is remarkable, they chorused. Ching Chumo's pride only grew. Birds soared overhead, and he fired off more than 10 shots, resulting in a multitude of birds falling upon the beach. The villagers were exhilarated. With a divine village chief, they would never suffer from hunger again. So impressive. Ching Chumo waved his hand. Everyone, let us return to the village. The villagers began preparing a meal. Living by the sea, they had no salt, but fortunately, the sea fish could still be consumed without it. He returned to the vehicle with a bird and a piece of fish. The two women were busy weaving fishing nets, surrounded by eager children wishing to learn. The women generously imparted their knowledge. Upon Ching Chumo's return, Li Lizzie stood to take the items from his hands. How do we eat these? Do we roast them? She asked. Ching Chumo nodded, feeling quite pleased. It was true what they said. The sea could uplift one's spirits. Yet, he pondered one thing. If the ocean brought joy, then why was their daily life so grim? They spent all their time by the sea, yet their lives felt so impoverished. Some things were inherently destined. They prioritized trivialities over substantial virtue. The term marine debris did not refer to refuse from the ocean. Rather, it described the neglect of earthly concerns. The true marine waste was the degradation of their daily lives. Children, let us roast some meat together, Li Lizzie proposed. The children cheered, eager to help kindle the fire. Xiaozhu set down her fishing line and stood up. Husband, did everything go smoothly? She inquired. Ching Chumo smiled and nodded. Seeing his good spirits, Xiaozhu felt cheerful as well. She nestled against his arm. I wish to drink that coconut. She pointed to a nearby palm tree. Ching Chumo pinched her cheek playfully. Very well. He raised his gun, and after the shot rang out, a coconut fell. Xiaozhu lifted her skirt and hurried to collect it, while Ching Chumo watched with a smile. After she returned, the two re-entered the vehicle and remained inside for quite some time. Li Lizzie peered in several times, unable to voice her thoughts with many children around. How shameless in broad daylight, she muttered. The birds were roasted, and only then did Ching Chumo and Xiaozhu emerge, having changed their attire. Humph, eat, Li Lizzie said, her expression sulky. Xiaozhu quickly went to comfort her. Li Lizzie pretended to be difficult to appease. Her displeasure was not genuine. All right, I shall forgive you this time, she said with a giggle. The three began to eat. The children did not join them, as the villagers had called them back. After the meal, the trio strolled along the beach. This feels wonderful, Li Lizzie remarked. Ching Chumo crouched down. Li Lizzie understood immediately and climbed onto his back. Let us go, she cheered. Ching Chumo ran, while Xiaozhu, lifting her skirt, followed, panting heavily. After running for a while, the three were covered in sweat. The weather had turned cooler, but the sea remained warm. Once they washed up, they returned. Just as they entered the vehicle, a villager rushed over, breathless. Village chief, trouble. Many small boats have appeared on the sea, he exclaimed. Cheng Chumo seized his weapon and followed the villager. Upon reaching the village entrance, the small boats had already docked. The old village chief lay dead not far away. He had gone to negotiate with those individuals, who had killed him without hesitation. Cheng Chumo was consumed with rage, unwilling to waste words. He fired without hesitation. One shot. One small karami down. In the span of a tea's brewing time, dozens fell. The assailants scrambled back to their boats in panic. Cheng Chumo continued firing, determined not to let them escape alive. He succeeded. 50 bullets found their mark, and 50 small karami were felled by his hand. The villagers rushed out with kitchen knives, regardless of whether the enemies were dead or alive. Cheng Chumo reached the old village chief's side, but it was too late. The chief had perished. Cheng Chumo's expression turned grim. The villagers placed the chief into the coffin, which had now become necessary. Tomorrow, we shall build boats. I will go after those small karami, Cheng Chumo declared. The villagers nodded in agreement, knowing where those individuals could be found. The Ryukyu Islands, stretching for 1,000 miles. Some islands were unfamiliar to the villagers, while others were well known. It must be noted that the Ryukyu Islands belong to us. Several referendums have sought to reclaim them. Alas, being backward invites conflict. One day, when we are strong, we must ensure that our children return home. Will one of my readers rise to become a great general, leading our aircraft carrier to reclaim all that we have lost? I am uncertain. Yet I am convinced that those who indulge in historical novels possess a deep sense of patriotism and hold steadfast values. The villagers heed the words of Cheng Chumo, the esteemed village chief, whose prowess is unmatched. Upon returning to the carriage, Cheng Chumo shares the developments with the two women. Li Lizzie retrieves a book, its cover inscribed with the characters for Mosey. Look, Your Highness, if we set up these mechanisms on the island, they will be unable to breach our defenses. Li Lizzie asserts. Cheng Chumo peruses the book, flipping through several pages. Very well, only by ensuring your safety can I venture out to sea with peace of mind. He replies. The mention of setting sail casts a serious shadow over the two women. Venturing into the ocean is no trivial matter. This small vessel cannot withstand the tumultuous waves. My lord, do you think the carriage could be converted into a boat? Xiaozhu suggests. A spark of inspiration ignites within Cheng Chumo. Indeed, this carriage is uniquely crafted and impeccable in its construction, with excellent sealing properties. You are absolutely right, he affirms, playfully pinching Xiaozhu's cheek. Li Lizzie nudges Xiaozhu aside, exclaiming, Your Highness, you pinched me. Xiaozhu retorts. They had agreed that tonight Cheng Chumo would return to Li Lizzie, and Xiaozhu giggles quietly to herself. As dawn breaks, the trio arrives in the village, only to discover that the village chief has been laid to rest. The villagers commence felling trees, seeking vengeance for their leader. Those sea deities are but illusions conjured by misguided souls. As a celestial being, I must eradicate those mountain-dwelling brutes, Cheng Chumo declares, united in their quest for retribution. The villagers care not for the gods or the sea. The death of their beloved chief is a personal vendetta. The chief dedicated his life to the villagers. And though they may bear children, there is only one old chief. Let us slay them. The villagers cry in unison. Cheng Chumo nods inwardly, pleased with their resolve. Let us construct a ship, he commands. However, he does not possess the skills to build his own vessel. While Li Lizzie and Xiaozhu prepare meals with the women, Cheng Chumo leads the villagers in shipbuilding. Lacking axes, they find their efforts thwarted. Determined, Cheng Chumo and the villagers scour the area for special minerals. But their search yields no results. Approaching the carriage, he gazes at the 2 rows of wheels and devises a plan. These wheels serve no purpose, he muses, beginning to remove them. Meanwhile, the villagers construct a stove nearby. Once all the wheels are disassembled, they face the daunting challenge of smelting the materials. Pure steel is no simple matter to work with. The craftsmanship of the Tang dynasty could handle this, but here it is unmanageable. This is not a problem that a mere fan can resolve, Cheng Chumo reflects. One villager suggests, there is a location known to the chief where red magma flows. Intrigued, Cheng Chumo follows the villager to a modest volcanic crater where molten rock glimmers. Such volcanoes are abundant on the island. After exhausting all methods, they finally manage to soften the wheels through intense heat. Cheng Chumo forges iron on the spot, and by the next day, he has crafted a massive axe. A villager attempts to lift it, but tumbles to the ground. Cheng Chumo bursts into laughter, effortlessly wielding the axe with one hand. The villagers fall to their knees in awe, exclaiming, the celestial village chief is remarkable. Cheng Chumo, slightly exasperated, remarks, could you refrain from kneeling at every opportunity? The villagers look up at him, speechless. Is there no other way to express their admiration for their celestial chief? Clearly, there is not. This is their way of showing gratitude. Cheng Chumo shakes his head in resignation. Please rise. We must return to shipbuilding, he instructs. The villagers stand and follow him back to the village. Several miles from the village, the sound of gunfire pierces the air, startling Cheng Chumo. He breaks into a sprint. Upon returning to the village half an hour later, he finds Li Lizzie perched on the rooftop, firing a sniper rifle. His anxious heart eases as he scans the ocean, where several small boats drift. Each shot from Li Lizzie causes the boats to sway violently. The occupants, hiding beneath the water's surface, do not dare to surface. I refuse to believe you won't show yourselves. If you do, I will shoot you dead, Li Lizzie intones coldly. Xia Zhu on the ladder assists Li Lizzie by passing ammunition. You've wasted over 20 bullets already. If you miss again, I'll take over, Xia Zhu jests. Li Lizzie's expression remains tense, determined to hit her target. With one eye closed, she fires. The water around the small boats turns crimson. Proudly, Li Lizzie glances at Xia Zhu. Just as she notices Cheng Chumo returning. Quickly get down. The prince is back, she exclaims. Xia Zhu, startled, hurriedly descends the ladder, while Li Lizzie quickly follows suit.